Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Welcome to the June 8th, 2022 meeting of the Oceanside City Council. I'd like to go ahead and call this meeting to order and ask our city clerk to go ahead and call roll.
Mayor Sanchez.
Present.
Deputy Mayor Kime.
Here.
Councilmember Jensen.
Here.
Councilmember Rodriguez.
Here.
Councilmember Weiss.
Here.
Please rise for the invocation. Tonight we have Pastor Amanda McGlynn from King of Kings Lutheran Church. Pastor McGlynn, welcome and thank you.
Thank you for having me. Let us pray. Good and gracious God, we come together today as your humble servants, following your call for us to love and serve our neighbors and you. Thank you for all of the gifts that you have blessed each of us with, for all of the ways that you've inspired and encouraged us to share those gifts for the betterment of our community. Lord, I ask that you be with us this evening. Give us the wisdom to lead well, the love to lead compassionately, the unity to move forward, and the courage to see one another as we truly are, your beloved children, no matter what our opinions are, our stances are, or anything else that might try to come in between that. All this we pray in your name. Amen.
Amen. Please remain standing and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may be seated. Thank you. Thank you. We're at the proclamations part of our agenda. And it's June, so what does that mean? It's June Pride Month in Oceanside. So I'd like to ask Max Disposti, the Executive Director of the North County LGBTQ Resource Center, to come forward, as well as Lisa Nava, who is the chairperson for this year's and last year's and other years' Pride by the Beach, as well as anybody else that you are asking to join us. The whole team.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes, there's a team.
Yes.
Behind every large event, there is,
Yes.
a big team.
Yeah, I mean, everybody else is affordable. Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you all for being here. And we do have a proclamation in honor of June Pride Month in the City of Oceanside 2022. As we celebrate and declare June as Pride Month in Oceanside, we stand with the lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer community in our own City of Oceanside as they declare their own pride in who they are and who they love. June Pride Month is the birth of Pride celebrations. We honor the fight of the LGBTQ community through so many years of demanding acceptance and respect at great personal risk to themselves. These protests inspired Pride celebrations around the world and sparked the LGBTQ civil rights movement in America. While there has been remarkable progress towards equality in recent years, members of the LGBTQ community in the United States and the world still face unacceptable levels of discrimination and violence, sometimes that violence resulting in death. Transgender women of color in America continue to be killed in disproportionate numbers by transphobia, hate, and racial violence, and continue to seek justice. Whereas the City of Oceanside is a multicultural, diverse community comprised of residents and visitors who come from all walks of life and from all over the world. And whereas the City of Oceanside promotes a respectful and inclusive environment where all diverse people are respected, included, and celebrated. And whereas the North County LGBTQ Resource Center was founded in Oceanside in 2008, along with North County Pride by the Beach, and has been an advocate for equality and inclusiveness while providing valuable support and life-saving services in all the North San Diego County region. And whereas since 2008, the LGBTQ Resource Center has served thousands of people every year through counseling services, LGBT competent training to police, hospitals, and school districts, human trafficking prevention services for homeless youth and families, veterans and active duty military support, and so much more. And whereas healthy and dynamic communities in the United States see LGBT centers as a driving force behind business development, safety, inclusiveness, and pride in our country's heritage and diversity. And whereas Pride events in all cities contribute greatly to the local economy, including businesses, tax revenues, and tourism, as well as create a positive and inclusive image of the city. And whereas the North County LGBTQ Resource Center founded and has hosted North County Pride, Pride by the Beach events in Oceanside every year since 2007, and this year will be held in person on June 11th, 2022. That's this Saturday at noon to 6 p.m. at the Civic Center, and 2 years of virtual programming, after 2 years of virtual programming due to COVID. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Mayor Esther C. Sanchez, on behalf of the City of Oceanside, do hereby declare June 2022 as June Pride Month in the City of Oceanside, welcoming and encouraging all North San Diego County communities and LGBTQ families and individuals to come together, not virtually. Forgot to take that word out. To come together and celebrate with us on June 11th, 2022. Thank you. Lisa.
Lisa Nava, Pride Director. This is my third in-person Pride, my fifth year with the center. I started as a volunteer, and this is our 15th year of Pride by the Beach. And when Mayor Sanchez talks about our economic impact, we have an emotional, social impact just from this proclamation and from hosting our Pride Festival. But we anticipate that 10,000 visitors will come to Oceanside this weekend. It even could be 15 for 15 years at least. The energy is very high. So we hope that everybody will report back to us that economic impact, which will be awesome. I also just wanted to make a comment that the people that you see up here have been working tirelessly to bring this event safely and to the city. And I'd like to recognize Sunny Sunny and her daughter Aluna, who have come to all of our meetings, and our Oceanside natives, locals. And I'm just so happy that you are standing up here with me right now to represent Oceanside the way you always do. One favor I would like to ask the city and the council is you have led in North County for many years with this proclamation. We have 6 cities that have followed your lead, and I would love to see Oceanside raise the pride flag enthusiastically for the first time in June. It is not too late to do that. And what that does is show not only other cities in the area that this can happen, but it shows the residents of your community that you care about them. So I urge all the city council members that are here today to consider that and to raise the flag with pride.
Thank you, Lisa. Did you want to introduce everyone that's up here?
Oh, yes, I'd love to introduce everybody that's up here. We have our board chair, Aaron Giron, right at the end. Joe White, who is one of our longest standing board members. Nikki Faddick, who is also a board member here. Max Desposi, who most of you know is our executive director. Jennifer Iannoli, a new staff member. You don't need the mayor's introduction. And Donna, I'm very happy to say, is an Oceanside resident and had worked for Pride by the Beach for 10 years as a volunteer and took the last couple of years off, but she's gonna be helping us this year. Steve Burrell, who also is an Oceanside resident, and of course, Sunny and her daughter, Aluna, that are with us as well.
Well, thank you very much. And I urge everyone to come Saturday. It's a wonderful event, and it's us, our Oceanside community, coming together with other North County communities. This is the one. This is the North County Pride. So we're going to take a picture, hopefully. Yes. And did you want to speak?
Oh, no, I will speak. No.
Go right ahead.
I just, I want to take a picture, that's it.
Guess so.
Perfect. I just want to thank you, Mayor and council members, for the opportunity. You led the way for many years, Mayor Esther Sanchez. I remember the first few years when you were the first person we addressed for this proclamation. Lisa said it all, really. All I can say, it's a pride celebration, but also an opportunity to show our kids and our families that everyone is welcome in Oceanside. Pride by the Beach is actually becoming an event that goes beyond North County. There are actually people promoting this event from Orange County and Los Angeles and all the way down to San Diego. So it's an opportunity to really show our true colors, not pun intended, and an opportunity to have fun and get to know each other and support all our people in our communities there now that they need more solidarity and support and love from their loved ones. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, thank you. So we'll see you on Saturday. Thank you. Thank you. Next is our closed session report. Mr. Mullen?
Thank you. Council met in closed session to discuss item 1, conference with labor negotiator on the status of negotiations involving the Oceanside City Employees Association, MECO, Western Council of Engineers, unrepresented employees, and the Marine Safety Unit. There is no reportable action under the Brown Act on item 1. On item 2, the council did meet on item 2A1, affordable housing coalition versus County of San Diego et al. On pending litigation. There's, again, no action to report there. The council did not meet on item 2A2.
Thank you. The next item is our consent calendar items. Those are items 4 through 24. Staff has pulled off the agenda. Item number 12. Are there any other requests to speak or any requests to speak from the public?
We do not have any requests to speak from the public on any of the items. However, Deputy Mayor Keim has indicated that he would like to pull item number 21.
Number 21. Any other requests from council for pulling?
I can move approval for the balance.
Okay. There's a motion and a second to approve the balance, having pulled item number 12 completely from the agenda, and then Deputy Mayor Keim's request to pull item number 21 for discussion. Motion and a second. Please vote.
Motion approved, 5-0.
Thank you. Item number 21 is acceptance of grant funding. As I speak, I'm sure I'm going to have staff coming down. Acceptance of grant funding from the California Department of Resources, Recycling and Recovery, that's Cal Recycle, for SB 1383 local assistance and implementation, appropriation of the funds to the Water Utilities Department, approval of a professional services agreement in the amount of $153,847 with the Solana Center for Food Recovery and Technical Assistance Support Services, and authorization for the city manager or designee to execute the agreements.
Thank you.
Mayor?
I just have a few quick questions for staff, just a clarification before we move forward. Ms. Dale, so I know this, the Solana Center is their contract. It's going to be doing many of the same services that HF&H was going to do when their proposal was going to come before us last October. So are we, as HF&H, did we, with not giving them the extra $500,000 or $600,000 during that the extra requested money, are we not using them anymore? And are we using Solana Center now, or are we using both Solana Center and HF&H for some of this inspection and outreach?
So the Solana Center work is specific to the grant that's being awarded here. It's outside and different from the $600,000 that we had discussed earlier in the year. That was never moved forward for your consideration.
Okay, so HF&H's contract, I guess my confusion was, are they still doing the same services but at a pared down level, or are they not performing those anymore and now the Solana Center is performing those?
They are not. They were never contracted to perform the services that are being considered here for award to the Solana Center. They were doing contract support services for the franchise agreement.
Okay, and that's it. So they're not doing, so HF&H contract had, let me get to HF&H. 1A1 SB 13 generator compliance review and education of non-compliant entities. And Solana Center, it looks like they're doing similar. It's just both scope of work looks very similar. So I guess my concern going forward is with SB 1383, it's costing our ratepayers a lot of money. And this grant, while it's only, $250 total and what's it, $150 for this, I would personally like to see, instead of us expanding services with any grant money, is us actually have the state pay back our ratepayers, so they're not taking that huge hit that they've been taking so far. And I guess that's my concern, is when we get grants, we just go above and beyond with the grants instead of using that to help stabilize our rates and make 1383 more affordable for our ratepayers. Is that can you just explain going forward what our general thought is with that in future grants?
The grant needs to be used for services. It can't be just put back into our fund to reimburse our employees. I wish I could do that. We understand that it is very expensive, and that's why we've made an effort to go after grants like this so that we're not incurring those costs out of the rates that are being collected by ratepayers.
Okay. So, and I'll finish. So just to follow up and finish with this, HF&H is not doing generator compliance review and education. They're not doing review and support franchisee contamination monitoring or compliance inspections.
Those are field inspections. They are not doing those types of services for us, no. They've been supporting us with the franchise agreement and interfacing with waste management and staff and our legal team.
Okay. It just, looking at both of these contracts, it looks like we're paying HF&H, Solana Center, waste management, and we have our own staff doing it. So that concerns me, but I guess I don't have enough clarification tonight to move forward with it. But thank you, Ms. Dale, for answers.
Move approval. Is there a second? This is to accept the grant and use it for the purposes for the grant. Is there a second? Councilmember Weiss?
So just tagging on to Deputy Mayor Keim's comments. So this is for doing field inspections and doing lid lifts, essentially, ensuring compliance for multifamily and commercial users. So with this contract, there's no one else doing that same scope of work.
I don't know that I can answer that for sure for you, Councilmember Weiss. If you would like me to clarify that in the next 2 weeks, we could certainly provide that clarification and bring the item back. I'd like to give you an answer that's a yes or no, and I would have to go back and research that for you.
I just want to make sure we're not having redundancies in the same levels of service for different, whether it's staff, whether it's the hauler, whether it's consultants or whatever. So I would support bringing it back in 2 weeks and just giving us the information and passing the memo over the next
We're happy
couple
to do
weeks.
that.
Okay. So I'll second that motion for continuance. Is there? Let's vote on that.
Motion approved, 5-0.
Thank you. Do we have Fabiola Bellinger? Yes. Fabiola. This is item 31B. Tour de recovery event at MHS Inc. Family Recovery Center.
Hello, Council, Mayor, and everyone here, the community. My name is Fabiola Quijano Bellinger, and I am the program director, program manager of the Family Recovery Center here in Oceanside, right up the street at 1100 Sportfisher Drive. I'm here to remind the community, remind each and every one of you that there's a special event happening on Sunday. And I want each and every one of you to bring your family, your friends, everyone you know to this special event, special cause. This Tour de Recovery the purpose is to bring awareness for behavioral health, mental health, drug addiction. I run a program of 55 women of drug treatment, residential treatment program. And at that facility, we provide residential substance use disorder treatment. We have a licensed childcare facility, psychological treatment, a work readiness program. And we also have a clinically managed withdrawal management program. We provide a safe, nurturing environment that offers a holistic approach to recovery that includes addiction education and treatment, physical wellness, and meeting the psychiatric needs of every woman. Most importantly, I want to share with you that I am a woman in recovery. I have 10 years clean. My clean date is May 2nd, 2012, and it was through the Family Recovery Center that I walked up those 18 stairs asking for help 10 years ago with my 9-year-old son. And it was through perseverance and through the help of human beings at that center that helped me turn my life around. And so because of that, I am clean today. I have a choice today. And my life is so much better just for today. And my son is currently in the Navy, and he's doing amazing. My children are reunified, and just like every single woman through this program will have reunification services. And not to mention, through those 18 years of intoxication, I walked into the Family Recovery Center with no education, no life skills, no parenting skills, no career skill, nothing, absolutely nothing, just the clothes on my back, the shoes on my feet. And that's why it's so important for us to try to come together as a community to bring awareness of what this program is here in our city, and especially on Sunday. Through the Family Recovery Center in 2003, I was given the opportunity to apply for a scholarship through the Dream Keepers, which is a 501c3. That allowed me and gave me hope. I was able to apply for this scholarship and go back to school and do what I always wanted to do while high. You guys were supposed to laugh. Okay. And so the point is that I got this scholarship, and I also got a housing voucher through the city of Oceanside. That helped me. That put me back on my feet. And it was just that little bit of help that I needed to change my life around. Today, I'm not using the housing anymore. Today, I'm not using any welfare benefits. Today, I have a high school diploma, I have an associate's, a bachelor's, and a master's degree from the University of Southern California, my dream school. Yes, Trojans. And it was through the help that I got through that small scholarship that just kind of picked me up, pushed me to keep going. Because there's just so much stigma in our population of drug addiction and mental health, and we just have to end that. Because I was that one. But today I'm a woman in recovery, a woman with strength, courage, and perseverance, resilience. And that's what each and every woman at that program has. And that's why we fight every single day for each one of them. And with so many fentanyl overdoses in our community in San Diego County, by the grace of God, till this day, I still have not had to see a woman die in our beds from a fentanyl overdose. So I urge the community, I urge each and every one of you to please join us for this special event. The women are just so excited that this is happening, that they're being recognized, that they're getting attention because they're important. And I tell them every single day, you are worthy, you are strong, you are courageous, you can do all things. They may not believe it when they get there up those 18 steps, but when they go down those 18 steps and they transition successfully from our program, they believe in who they are. So I urge you to support our cause for the women at the Family Recovery Center on June 12th. Cork Snyder will be riding with his team to the Family Recovery Center from San Clemente to Oceanside. I appreciate each one of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Fabiola. And congratulations. Item number 25, general items, is approval of a professional services agreement in a not-to-exceed amount of $6.6 million with NV5 for owner consultant services for the Oceanside Mesa Garrison Force Main, El Corazon Lift Station, Mission Ave Lift Station Force Main Replacement, and Land Outfall Replacement Progressive Design Build Project. Services to be provided include the technical and project controls support during design phases of the project, construction management and inspection services during construction, and assistance during the commissioning and closeout of the project. Authorization for a 5% contingency of the contract award in the amount of $333,000. And finally, authorization for the city manager to execute the agreements upon receipt of all supporting documents. And we have a report by,
Mabel Ueda.
thank you.
Sure. She spoke last time. It's very inspirational, and I thank her for what she's been doing for the community. So I'm a senior engineer in water utilities, and this is for approval of professional services agreement for the owner's consultant services of the Progressive Design Build project. Staff recommends that the City Council approve the professional engineering services agreement for NV5 to provide owner consultant services for the Oceanside Mesa Garrison Force Main, El Corazon Lift Station, Mission Avenue Station Force Main Replacement, and Land Outfall Replacement Progressive Design Build Project in the not-to-exceed amount of $6,664,070. And authorize the city engineer to execute amendments to agreement up to 5% contingency in the amount of $333,000, and authorize the city manager to execute the agreement upon receipt of all supporting documents. So I was here just a few weeks ago for council to award to the Progressive Design Build team. So I'm just going to go through this really quick. This is just a reminder, the Progressive Design Build components consist of the El Corazon Lift Station and the Oceanside Mesa Garrison Force Main, that is about 3-mile pipeline. It starts at the lift station that is at Garrison Elementary School, that's shown in the red square. And we're very close on closing on purchasing 3 acres of that Garrison Elementary School property for the lift station. When this heads north all the way to our San Luis Spray facility, it's 2 components of the overall project to decommission La Salina wastewater treatment plant. And along the way, we are going to replace 2 existing pipelines. So the owner consultant services is sort of a glorified construction management service. It not only provides service during construction, but also provides technical support during design, project control support throughout the design and construction, as well as permitting, public outreach, and any guidance we need for the new Progressive Design Build delivery. So the next time you'll probably see me is when we approve the program environmental impact report for the project, and that may come as an action item along with the guarantee price proposal, and we'll have that ready around the 60% design. And if there are any pre-purchase packages that will go for this project, and we'll start doing the phase 2 construction, would be the final phase, very exciting. So the funding for the project will come out of the Sewer Fixed Asset Replacement Fund. Our current balance is about $4 million, and we'll appropriate additional funds throughout the year for the life of the project. It's approximately $94 million. The total for this project plus the 5% contingency is roughly $7 million. So there's plenty of funds remaining to fund the project. We are also pursuing a EPA WIFIA loan application for this to help fund the project. So staff recommends that City Council approve the professional engineering service agreement for NV5 to provide owner consultant services for the Progressive Design Build project for the amount of $6,664,070. Authorize the city engineer for up to 5% contingency and authorize city manager to execute the agreement upon supporting documents. I'll answer any questions you have.
Thank you very much. Do we have any requests to speak from the public?
We do not have any requests to speak from the public on this item.
Okay, back to council. Councilmember Weiss?
Yeah, I just have a question. When do you think you're actually going to be looking at awarding the construction, the Progressive Design Build contract itself?
So we selected throughout a very extensive process. This is Progressive Design Build, so we do have the contractor on board.
Okay.
We anticipate the earliest that would happen, where we would do a guaranteed price proposal, is probably end of this year.
Okay, thank you. Move approval, staff recommendation.
I'll second that. There's a motion and a second. Please vote.
Motion approved, 5-0.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Uyeda. Next item is item number 26, and that is adoption of a resolution authorizing the city's membership in the Clean Energy Alliance, CEA, through execution of its joint powers agreement as amended to ratify the mayor's appointment of a council member and alternate to the Clean Energy Alliance Board of Directors, and introduction of an ordinance authorizing the city to implement community choice energy pursuant to state law. And we have a report by Mr. Justin Gamble, our environmental officer.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and City Council members. Justin Gamble, Environmental Officer with the Water Utilities Department. I'll be presenting item 26 related to community choice energy with Clean Energy Alliance. I think we're on the wrong item. Sorry for that delay. So staff recommends that the City Council adopt a resolution authorizing the city's membership in the Clean Energy Alliance, or CEA, through execution of its joint powers agreement as amended, to ratify the mayor's appointment of a council member and alternate to the Clean Energy Board of Directors, and introduce an ordinance authorizing the city to implement community choice energy pursuant to state law. So community choice energy is an alternative model for buying and generating renewable energy compared to traditional investor-owned utilities like SDG&E. It allows local communities to aggregate their buying power to purchase electricity for customers while SDG&E continues to provide transmission, maintenance, and billing services. This allows communities to choose cleaner, renewable energy sources at competitive market rates. Successful mature CCE programs may also generate revenues to fund local programs, including energy efficiency rebates and local power generation and storage projects. Participation in a CCE significantly increases the share of renewable energy that is delivered to Oceanside homes and businesses, helping the city meet its goal of 75% renewable energy procurement identified in our 2019 Climate Action Plan. Local control and customer choice is a priority with community choice energy. Customers may opt out of enrollment with advance notice and remain with SDG&E, and member agencies have a shared voice in procuring competitively priced clean energy for their community. SDG&E has previously signaled its intention to move away from the power procurement sector due to the increasing prevalence and success of CCEs across the region. So here's a summary of prior actions the City Council has taken on CCE. In 2019, a feasibility study was conducted to examine governance options, rates, and potential partnerships for a new CCE. In May of 2019, council workshop was held to discuss the results of the study and options to implement community choice energy. At that time, council directed staff to explore additional partnerships with San Diego County cities. Staff conducted further research on these options for the city, and a second council workshop was held on September 29th, 2021. The City Council voted unanimously that the city, in partnership with the North County cities of Vista, Escondido, and San Marcos, collectively join the Clean Energy Alliance. Following the workshop, these cities of San Marcos and Escondido have joined Clean Energy Alliance, with the City of Vista expected to join later this month. So here's just a view of the council workshop meetings from September of last year, indicating the council's vote to join Clean Energy Alliance in partnership with Vista, Escondido, and San Marcos. The Clean Energy Alliance is San Diego's second community choice clean energy provider. It formally launched in 2021 as a JPA, and over 60,000 accounts are currently enrolled, with an approximate 93% participation rate. Over 160,000 accounts are estimated by 2023 due to new membership. CEA currently offers member cities 3 power products to choose from. These include Clean Impact, which is the base power mix, which is 50% renewable, progressing to 100% renewable by 2035. Clean Impact Plus, which is 50% renewable and 75% carbon-free, for example, hydroelectric power. And Green Impact, which is 100% renewable. While these customers are automatically enrolled into CEA service with an advance notice, they can opt out at any time at no cost. The City Council must choose the default power product for its customers prior to launch of service in Oceanside. For a 2024 launch, this decision must be made by December of 2023. This decision is not required of the Council at this time. CEA launched in 2021 with the founding cities of Carlsbad, Del Mar, and Solana Beach. And as I previously noted, San Marcos and Escondido joined late last year. And the City Council of Vista has directed its staff to return to formally recommend membership at its upcoming June 28th council meeting. These 3 cities joining CEA fulfills council's previous vote to join CEA in partnership with these cities. Additionally, the City of San Clemente has expressed interest in joining CEA. The incorporation of these 3 new cities would result in an 81% increase in size for CEA relative to its current membership retail sales. Shown here is the most recent joint rate comparison for existing CEA customers as of February 1st of this year. The highlighted columns identify the average monthly residential customer rates between SDG&E and CEA's base power product, which is Clean Impact. At the time of publishing, CEA's rates were approximately 1% lower per month than SDG&E, with a higher renewable energy content of at least 50% versus 31%. It is important to note that these rates reflect the current PCIA, or power charge indifference adjustment, what we call an exit fee, and that Oceanside customers will be under a new rate dependent on the timing at launch. So to assess the financial impact to CEA with these new member cities of Oceanside, Vista, and San Clemente, they conducted a membership assessment using the city's energy usage data in early 2022. The assessment assumes a launch of service in April of 2024 with a 90% customer participation. Based on the city's energy usage, CEA estimates the average residential customer to save approximately 3.5% per month versus SDG&E using the 2022 exit fee rate. In April of this year, this assessment was updated due to the increased wholesale energy costs that have been affected by global market factors and inflation. As shown in the following slides, the updated assessment still estimates that Clean Energy Alliance provides a 2.8% average monthly residential savings versus SDG&E. Again, it's important to note that this analysis is with today's generation costs and today's exit fee rate. These are all subject to change in following years. CEA has provided us with a projected average residential monthly bill comparison for the typical Oceanside customer using this year's electricity generation rates and exit fee rates. This assessment is from the early 2022 analysis that shows the approximate 3.5% customer savings versus SDG&E that are enrolled in Clean Energy Alliance's base power product. That's noted by the red box on the lower side of this figure. This table shows CEA's projected expenses, revenues, and reserves to serve the new member cities of Oceanside, Vista, and San Clemente with a prospective 2024 launch. As previously mentioned, CEA updated this assessment in April of this year due to the rising wholesale electricity costs. For financial stability, it's CEA's goal to contribute at least 5% of their annual revenues to their reserves. Due to the rising power cost, CEA is proposing a 2.5% rate increase in the first 3 years of service to the cities, which will offset this reserve shortfall. Even with this proposed increase, CEA estimates that Oceanside residential customers can still save about 2.8% per month compared to SDG&E. They also expect that beyond 2026, an increased membership and revenues will sufficiently fund their reserves, with the future possibility of surplus revenues to benefit the member cities. So here is CEA's updated monthly residential rate comparison from April of this year. This analysis incorporates the 2.5% rate increase to sufficiently fund its reserves using current generation costs and exit fee rates. The updated estimate shows the 2.8% customer savings for CEA's clean impact product compared to SDG&E. Again, it should be noted that this is only a projection using the current market rates and exit fee, which is subject to change. The projections were made using industry standard financial pro forma methods generated by CEA and its consultant team. Under CEA's governance structure, each member city is entitled to one vote. There is no weighting of voting power based on a city's size or electrical demand. Part of staff's recommendation this evening includes for the mayor to appoint a council member and one alternate to serve on the CEA board of directors. Most routine decisions of the board are decided with a simple majority vote, as outlined in their joint powers agreement. Beyond participation on the CEA board, there is no additional city staffing requirement for membership in CEA's operations. As an incoming member, CEA requires the city to adopt a resolution to execute their joint powers agreement, certify the mayor's appointment of the primary and alternate council member to the board of directors, and under state law, the city is required to adopt an ordinance intending its intention to implement CCE. Under state law, the city is also protected from the debts and liabilities of the Clean Energy Alliance. The State Public Utilities Code requires any public agency, as I previously mentioned, to adopt an ordinance that wishes to implement community choice energy. The ordinance shall become effective 30 days following the second reading, which is scheduled for June 22nd. Following the effective date of the ordinance, in July, the CEA Board of Directors will adopt a resolution accepting the city as a new member, and the city's board members will be sworn in and seated on the CEA board, which gives the city decision-making authority in CEA's operation. This table shows the anticipated schedule of actions required for the city to join, with tonight's recommendation highlighted. It is expected the CEA board will meet in August to adopt the resolution, accepting Oceanside and formally seating its board members. CEA plans to amend its implementation plan in October of 2022 and submit to the Public Utilities Commission by December of this year. The Public Utilities Commission is expected to approve the amended plan no later than March 2023, which estimates a launch of service to Oceanside customers by April of 2024. It should be noted that CEA is responsible for securing the necessary power sources to serve the new member cities under strict timing to meet state regulatory requirements. This may result in a 2025 launch date or the phasing in of new member cities. By joining CEA, the city is legally protected from the debts and liabilities of the Joint Powers Authority. Costs to join are not to exceed $50,000 upon execution of the JPA agreement, and this covers the membership assessment and CEA's financial forecast and the amendments to the implementation plan to file with the Public Utilities Commission. These costs may be split with the City of Vista dependent on the council's decision and timing. These not to exceed costs will be paid from the listed account, which has a current balance of $8.5 million, thus sufficient funds are available. As CEA matures financially, any future programmatic benefits funded by surplus revenues will be assigned to members proportionally based on their service area load, as dictated by their JPA agreement. Oceanside will comprise approximately 23% of CEA's service load with the new member cities. The staff recommends that the City Council adopt a resolution authorizing the city's membership in the Clean Energy Alliance through execution of its joint powers agreement as amended, ratify the mayor's appointment of a council member and alternate to the Clean Energy Alliance Board of Directors, and introduce an ordinance authorizing the city to implement community choice energy pursuant to state law. Staff is available for questions, and we also have Mrs. Barbara Boswell, the Chief Executive Officer of the Clean Energy Alliance. Thank you.
Thank you. You mentioned that you have someone here.
Yes, we have Barbara Boswell, CEO of the Clean Energy Alliance.
Okay, would you like to say a few words before we hear from the public? And your last name is Boswell?
Good evening.
Got
Good
that.
evening, Mayor Sanchez and members of the City Council. It's my pleasure to be before you in person to support the City of Oceanside's joining Clean Energy Alliance to bring community choice to the residents and businesses of Oceanside. Doing so would make great strides in Oceanside meeting its climate action plan goals. CEA procures a minimum 50% renewably sourced energy and would provide choice for consumers. Consumers can opt up to 100% renewable, opt down to one of the other two power supply products, or choose to opt out and stay with SDG&E if that is a better choice for them. CEA has a commitment to cleaner energy with a target 2% savings on generation-related costs. Joining now would be at the ground floor of CEA as we continue to establish our policies, programs, and goals. Oceanside would have a voice in those decision-making. CEA's board has taken a conservative approach to administration and overhead, with its priority being on financial stability. In the coming fiscal year, we're considering adding our first full-time staff. I'm available to answer any questions that you all may have as you consider this choice.
Thank you, Ms. Boswell.
Thank you.
Ms. CEO Boswell. All right, do we have a request to speak from the public?
I believe we do, but I think we have one member of the public registering. Are you registering for item number 8? 26. In that case, 26, we have 8 speakers, including the gentleman that's registering
Okay.
right now. So our first speaker is Joe Gabaldon, to be followed by Sonia Robinson, to be followed by Rob Howard.
Good evening, I guess now. Joe, how's it going?
Good evening. Great to be
Mr.
back and see you in
SDG&E.
person. Dear Honorable Mayor Sanchez, members of the City Council and staff, as SDG&E's Public Affairs Manager to the City of Oceanside, I appreciate the opportunity to be here tonight to express SDG&E's support as you consider moving forward with community choice aggregation. SDG&E appreciates the long-standing collaboration we have with the city, and we look forward to continuing this partnership into the future. We respect our customers' rights to choose their energy provider or program that best fits their needs, and will work closely with you and your staff and the Clean Energy Alliance to serve Oceanside's residents and businesses. SDG&E will continue to operate safe and reliable grid to deliver the energy mix you procure, and will continue to handle customer billing and core programs to support our most vulnerable shared customers. SDG&E has more than 140 years of experience in delivering energy. Given the complexities of the energy industry, we encourage the city to continue to work closely with us to ensure we meet your goals. We are actively working with various jurisdictions and CCA programs around the region, including the Clean Energy Alliance, to share the information and tools in energy procurement and support the success of customer choice-driven programs. We're excited about the ongoing collaboration with the city as we continue to work to upgrade and modernize our power grid to achieve the goal of net zero GHG emissions by 2045 through the investment in innovative clean energy technologies such as zero emissions hydrogen, energy storage, electric vehicle charging to benefit all of our customers. So to conclude, SDG&E is committed to maintaining a strong relationship with the city, regardless of the choice you make with regards to an energy procurement. Again, we thank you for this opportunity to share our perspective. Should you have any questions, please let me know.
Thank you, and just to quickly say, SDG&E will continue to be involved in delivery services and the infrastructure. It is just the part of choosing the energy.
Right,
Yeah.
the procurement
Purchasing,
stuff will be,
procurement, the
handled
contracts.
through CCA, correct?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Sonia Robinson, to be followed by Rob Howard, to be followed by Cindy Davenport.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor Sanchez, Councilmember Wise, and the rest of the board. I am Sonia Robinson. I've had the privilege to speak to you directly and some of the others about joining a community choice energy many years ago. I was a clean energy, and still am, organizer. I am a community advocate for climate and environmental justice, and have been a clean energy organizer for our community choice energy, even within the city of San Diego. So I would like to just remind everyone that SDG&E does have the highest electricity rates throughout the country, including Hawaii. So choosing or allowing us to have a choice, whereas energy burden is on many of our residents and ratepayers throughout SDG&E's territory is something that we need to consider. So I definitely want to encourage the city of Oceanside to move forward in adopting a resolution to join the Clean Energy Alliance, understanding that affordability is a major issue. I know that the city of San Diego, that we're within the county, is the least affordable place to live in the country. So affordability, when people have more of their income being spent on their utility bill, matters. It matters to BIPOC communities. It matters to the Black, Indigenous, people of color, the Black and brown communities. I also want to strongly encourage you to, with your power purchase agreements, to make sure they are local control. I definitely appreciate our environmental council, may not know his official name, but I definitely appreciate in his presentation, he stressed local control. So local generated power on rooftop solar, aggregated rooftop solar with battery and storage really does matter. And I would definitely like to take this opportunity to read a resolution in Northern California on East Bay's community choice energy. It says, whereas Assembly Bill 327, Chapter 611, status of 2013 as amended, includes a subsection that directs the California Public Utilities Commission to adopt a net energy metering policy that ensures solar distributed generation will continue to grow sustainably and include specific alternatives designed for growth among residential customers in disadvantaged communities. Whereas California is much less likely to adequately meet its 2030 and 2045 clean energy goals in time with utility scale solar along and need substantially increase the amount of rooftop solar and associated storage as reported by the California Energy Commission in 2021.
Thank you.
Rob Howard, to be followed by Cindy Davenport, to be followed by Roger Davenport.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, staff. I'm here on item 26. Just a couple of things. I actually work and have spent many years in the energy industry, currently working, and I do have another CCA that is a client of mine working in this area, but Oceanside is my home. I am excited about this, and I wanted to just share some information that for people to understand that right now, in less than 10 years, about 85% of all customers will be in a CCA. This has been, the legislation was passed in 2002, so for people not to be afraid of this. Your move is critical. The couple of things I'm concerned about is, one, we worry about opt-out rates. And there's a small issue for me as a former Edison employee, classified as a retiree, about the discount. Retirees get a discount on their electrical rates. I do not know and could not find anything that says that would stay if you move into the CCA, and that would be a huge part of whether or not I opt out or not. And I am a supporter of this, but I also have to look at my own personal budget. Some of the other things that I wanted us to look at, and there is the entry fee, if there was any discussion about, because you're not on the ground floor, but you're on the first floor, a waiver of that entry fee so that the city would save that. Second thing is, hoping that whoever is appointed, that there would be a push to focus on generation, because you have that time where you're paying the fees, the exit fees from SCG&E, but the reality is energy costs are going to go up, and so you really do need generation, and don't stop at just solar. As Sonia said before, you need battery storage, hydrogen fuel technology, and consider microgrids for your critical power installations like the new fire station and City Hall. So those are just some of the things I'm excited about it. And I would say, if there are a number of people in the town that are also excited about it, you'll get a bunch of negatives about it. But I will tell you, this is the trend and where it's going. And honestly, if you stay on top of it, if you focus on the generation piece, then that is how you become more profitable and you also have clean energy in the community. And I'll stop there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sydney Davenport, to be followed by Roger Davenport, to be followed by Ellen Bartlett. And we do have 2 podiums, so as I call your name, feel free to come on down.
We'll probably just stop after Roger and take up the 6 o'clock. Go ahead.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and council members, and I'm Cindy Davenport, resident of historic Loma Alta. And some of you may recall that there's several people in this room who have been talking to you since 2017, advocating for community choice energy, community choice aggregation, and now we have a clear goal of joining CEA, the Clean Energy Alliance. So I want to say thank you to Justin for continuing the work after Mo retired, and I want to thank you, council members. I'm sure you're all going to vote unanimously, and this is a great step forward. I'm also someone who's very concerned about our climate action plan, and this is the single most important thing we can do to meet our climate action goal. So this is wonderful in the terms of the climate action plan. It's also a great opportunity to offer choice. So customers have choice, and then the members in the JPA have choice too, since they have local control. So any kind of discounts to seniors, to any other entity, is the choice of those in the JPA. So it's really a great thing. We will have choice, we will have local control. And then as we reach a point of actually gaining revenue, we then have the choice to reinvest in our community. So it's very exciting. We can invest in more renewable energy generation, either rooftop solar. The sky's the limit. We can invest in all clean energy locally so that it benefits us. Local clean energy will create jobs for those installing it, from running the gamut of the suppliers and even bankers to finance those projects. So thank you so much for voting for this. And let's try to be more proactive so that we can make more progress with our climate action plan. This is the start. Let's keep going. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi there, as indicated, welcome, good evening, everybody. I'm Roger Davenport, live at 541 Crouch Street, and I'm also co-chair of our local Oceanside Sierra Club team. And I just have to say hallelujah. The Oceanside Sierra Club team strongly supports joining CEA. Community Choice Energy provides a clear path to making our climate action plan goals. The analysis shows immediate savings for all electric customers while providing electricity at a higher renewable fraction than we get from SDG&E. The savings continue even if the rates increase to provide their 5% annual deposit to their reserves that they want to maintain. And notice that the analysis was only for 3 years. After the 3 years, it gets better and better. Once the PCIA exit fee charges drop off, savings increase substantially. They're like 10% of the cost of electricity. And so we can get income that can be invested locally in energy efficiency, in supply projects. I was just talking about production. And, as you all know, every feasibility study that's been done, 2 of them for Oceanside, have shown that this will be feasible, and it's time to step up and take action to save money for all of the Oceanside residents and businesses and secure clean energy supplies for the future. And I did put a slide together because there could be a concern about the expansion. Now, CEA has expanded already because they started out with just Solana Beach, and they've been increasing their supplies already. But this will represent a large increase in their load when we add Escondido and Oceanside and everybody. But they know what needs to be done, and if you look at it, they have just about 2 years to do it. So there's plenty of time for them to do this. Likely they'll be providing electricity starting in April 2024 for us, which is quite a ways away. And as Justin was saying, probably the worst case scenario would be that they might delay us a few months until 2025, so it'd be in the next fiscal year, just because of the way they do their recording of stuff at the PUC and so forth. Anyway, we're very, very much in favor of the CEA joining, and we hope that you vote that way. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Davenport. It is 6 o'clock now, and so we'll be continuing item number 26 until after the time certain items are heard. We do have 4 public hearings, so let's go ahead and get started with item number 27, adoption, and that is adoption of resolutions for the following. This is finally the budget. I'm sorry? Councilmember Weiss, did you say something? Okay. Approving the appropriation limitation as required by Article 8B of the state constitution as modified by Proposition 111 for fiscal year 2022 to 2023. Number 2, approving the fiscal year 2022 to 2023 City of Oceanside operating budget. Number 3, approving the fiscal year 2022-2023 Measure X operating budget. Number 4, approving the fiscal year 2022 to 2023 City of Oceanside capital improvements program budget. Number 5, accepting the annual AB 1600 compliance report and making findings required by Government Code Section 66001 regarding the expenditure of development impact fees. 6, approving the fiscal year 2022 to 2023 Community Development Commission operating budget. Number 7, approving the fiscal year 2022-2023 Harbor District operating budget. 8, approving the fiscal year 2022-2023 Harbor District capital improvements program budget. And 9, approval of lump sum prepayment to Calpers estimated at $20.5 million for the city's annual required unfunded liability contribution for both safety and miscellaneous retirement plans. Prepayment will provide an estimated $707,115 in savings, which will be directly applied to the city's Calpers unfunded liability. I'd like to go ahead and open this public hearing and request that council members disclose contacts with constituents and correspondents.
Staff.
Staff and public.
Staff and public.
Staff and public, and we've had several workshops on these.
Is Councilmember Keim? Okay, I'll have him disclose when he returns. So, Mr. Novato, do we have any correspondence and or petitions?
All the correspondence received by the city clerk's office has been forwarded to council prior to the meeting.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to begin with a report by Jill Moya, Financial Services Director.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and council members. I'm Jill Moya, Financial Services Director. Tonight, I will start off this budget hearing by providing an overview of the fiscal year 22-23 proposed operating budget for the general fund. This will be followed by an overview of the proposed Measure X budget, then the proposed capital projects budgets, followed by the proposed utilities operating budget, and finally the proposed harbor budget. As our mayor just read to us, this public hearing is being held to approve the resolutions as listed here. The fiscal year 22-23 budget incorporates council direction from the April 13th workshop. It's a balanced budget where expenses are less than revenues and reserves or one-time monies are not used to cover ongoing costs. It meets all of our reserve obligations, such as the Healthy City and Economic Stabilization reserves. It also reflects a continued soft hiring freeze where vacant positions can only be filled subject to the approval of our city manager.
If I could just stop you for a second. Deputy Mayor, would you like to disclose any constituent contacts or correspondence?
Public and staff, sorry.
Thank you. Go on, please. Thank
Okay.
you.
Further, it continues to reflect council's strategic priorities. Total appropriations in the proposed budget for all funds is $592.7 million, with operating appropriations totaling $506.4 million and CIP appropriations totaling $86.3 million. Please note that these totals vary slightly from the analysis section on page 2 of the staff report for item 27. However, all attachments to the resolutions are correct, and those totals are the same as the totals reflected here on the slide. For the general fund operating budget, the total proposed budgeted revenues is $188.991 million, and expenditures total $186.85 million and include a $1.09 million transfer to fund capital projects. This leaves the general fund with a projected surplus of $2.06 million. As discussed during the budget workshop, the proposed expenditures include all negotiated salary increases and placeholders for increases to other bargaining groups, as well as pension cost increases as calculated per the Calpers actuarial report. Also included in the proposed budget is the addition of several new positions, including a Parks and Rec director, 3 EMTs, an associate engineer, a public works inspector, a code enforcement officer, a parking enforcement officer, and a maintenance worker. 7 of the 11 new positions will generate revenue to offset their costs. Other noteworthy additions to the budget include an increase in fire apparatus replacement funding of $500,000 and an increase of $540,000 for increased property liability insurance premiums. All fiscal year 22-23 additions were presented during the budget workshop, and staff was directed to include these additions in the final budget. As noted during the workshop, the proposed budget was developed with a current economic environment in mind. Due to the inflation we are currently experiencing, the proposed budget includes a cost of living increase for all M&O expenditures of 5%. Additionally, the fuel expense budget was increased by $350,000 due to increasing fuel costs. It's also important to note that we are continuously monitoring the status of the city's revenues and expenditures, and if needed, as we did during the pandemic, can cut back on expenses or initiate a hiring freeze to manage our costs. Staff recommends that the City Council adopts the previous mentioned resolutions. I will now turn this presentation over to Assistant City Manager Michael Gossman for an overview on the Measure X proposed budget.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, members of the council. I'm going to give you a brief overview of the Measure X budget. You've seen this a couple times, including at the workshop. So in review, this was reviewed by the Measure X Citizens Oversight Committee on March 10th, 2022. The COC voted unanimously to recommend the Year 4 plan to the City Council, and then the Year 4 spending plan also continues to provide for improved public safety services, including homelessness services, enhanced emergency services in Oceanside, and this year, in this next year, a community services officer program in our police department. Year 4 total revenues budgeted are at $20.1 million. This includes net revenue of $17.4 million, and then carry forward an additional prior year revenue of $10.1 million. Total revenues over the life of Measure X are projected at $8.3 million over the costs of all projects. So we have enough funds right now to cover all of the proposed projects, capital, and the programs that we have currently in Measure X funding. This gives you an overview of the Measure X proposed budget from the year 3 plan to the year 4 plan. You can see that we have as I mentioned, $20.1 million in expenditures in the year 4 plan. We have $27.6 million in available revenue. So then that will mean about $6.7 million to be carried over into the year spending in year 5s through the end of the Measure X tax. So to give you a reminder of what the ongoing projects are that Measure X funds, that includes the homeless outreach team, contract sobering services, and just a note on contract sobering services, that's something that we're always continuing to ensure that these monies are maximized in terms of the efficiency and effectiveness of the programs. And the contract sobering services is one of those programs where staff is looking closely to make sure that we're getting the most bang for our buck possible out of that program. We also have the homeless hiring program, which we have an RFP for, and we hope to get that started up shortly, where to continue and fight the homelessness problems and the issues that go along with that. I mentioned the Enhanced Emergency Services Delivery Model, otherwise known as the EMT program. We have Fire Station 1 construction continuing, South Strand Rehabilitation Project, Beachfront Improvement Project, Pierview Bridge Rehabilitation Project, the Buccaneer Beach Park Facility Study, and then allocations for studies and equipment in the police and fire departments that allow them to be tactical and responsive to needs throughout the year. The new projects that we're including this year, one is the Community Services Officer Model implementation within the police department, and the other is money for traffic calming measures throughout the city. That concludes the Measure X budget, and next up will be Brian Thomas to talk about capital improvement projects. Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Thomas.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and City Council members. Brian Thomas, City Engineer. We'll give you a brief overview of the capital improvement projects for the upcoming year. Our CIP program consists of many funds composed of developer impact fees, taxes, enterprise funds. Our current budget for this year, estimated expenditures are $202.3 million, with new allocations of $86.3 million. Our CIP funding includes prior year carry forwards for continuing projects, and new allocations from future designated funding sources. Those funding sources includes grants, taxes, developer impact fees, enterprise fund, and the general fund. As with the previous year, revenues have been adjusted for COVID-19 and revised numbers for gas tax, SB1, and SANDAG changes. Measure X capital improvement projects have also been included in this year's budget. Our major new and continuing projects include street overlay and slurry seals, Fire Station 1, storm drain improvements, water and sewer line pipeline replacement, structural analysis and rehabilitation for our reservoirs, Buccaneer Lift Station enforcement work, San Luis Rey building upgrades, the automated water metering, Pure Water Oceanside, as well as the police department needs assessment and planning. Overview of our proposed program is broken down through the pie chart. Recommendation at this time, adopt the resolution approving fiscal year 22-23 CIP budget and accept the annual AB 1600 compliance report and make findings regarding the expenditure of the development impact fees. At this time, I'll turn it over to Lindsay Leahy, Principal Engineer for Water.
Thank you.
Good evening, Lindsay Leahy, Principal Water Engineer, to overview the Water Utilities Department proposed budget for next fiscal year. The proposed capital expenditures for the water and sewer program in total are over $122 million, with $60 and $62 million between the two different funds. There are 20 existing project accounts for the Water and Recycled Water Enterprise Fund, with the majority of the high dollar value accounts listed here. The Water and Recycled Water program continues to focus on developing local supply, and with the listed projects that are included in this upcoming fiscal year's budget, upon completion would increase our local supply development to 44% of our water supply. Additionally, the Water and Recycled Water program continues to focus on improving the reliability of our critical infrastructure, including some of the projects that Brian had previously listed, and commencing water and asset management master planning, completing water treatment facility planning, and working on our upcoming projects that we need to be focusing on for the utility. For the sewer utility, there are 24 existing project accounts, again with the major project accounts listed on this slide. The sewer utility continues to focus on centralizing the wastewater flows to, again, increase our local water supply development. These include Buccaneer Lift Station and Force Main, El Corazon Lift Station, and the Oceanside Mesa Garrison Force Main. And finally, the sewer utility, as well as, and similar with the water utility, will continue replacing and rehabilitating our aging infrastructure. These include our water recycling facility major upgrades, our pipeline rehabilitation program, and our lift station program. And with that, I will pass this on to Carrie Dale, our Water Utilities Director.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and City Council members. I'll be presenting on the water, sewer, and solid waste budgets. Just a high-level overview of the water budget. This reflects an O&M increase of approximately $4 million associated with the Pure Water Oceanside facility coming online. It also reflects zero rate internal increases other than pass-throughs from Metropolitan Water District and the San Diego County Water Authority. It also includes $1.9 million in reserves. And for the sewer utility, the totals also show zero rate increases for this year, the use of $1.45 million in reserves, and an increased cost in O&M reflecting increased costs due to chemicals and energy. There's also one change to personnel. There is a change to change a plant operator to a wastewater plant operator, resulting in very small cost increase to the operating budget. In the solid waste and recycling budget, revenues and expenses reflect a CPI increase being applied on 7/1 of 4.7% increase that's previously been approved by council, as well as a position that would support organics implementation. It also includes the use of $600,000 from the reserve account. And we are recommending that City Council adopt the amounts shown here in the slide. And with that, I'll turn it over to Mead.
Good evening, Mr.
Good
Bahadouri.
evening, Honorable Mayor, members of City Council. Hamid Bahadouri, Public Works Director. Very briefly, I'm going to summarize the harbor operating and capital improvement budget. We went to greater detail in the budget workshop before you a couple of months ago. The harbor revenue budget, the primary source of our revenue is from the slip rentals. Most of that money comes from the long-term rentals. We have about $165,000 from guest rentals. The leases are usually long-term leases. There's not a whole lot of variations year to year. Parking is another major revenue source. About 85% of the parking revenues come from parking machines, and that revenue is shared between Harbor and the City General Fund. And the rest of 15% comes from three sources of permit parkings and parking meters, and very nominal amount, about $2,000 from special events. The transfer fees and wait list and management fees, they are not that much, subject to change year to year. It's pretty much the same. The harbor expenditure budget, the primary expenditure is obviously maintenance. From $3.11 million, about $1.31 million is for the staff salary, maintenance staff, and the rest goes for the contract projects for maintenance. The policing, about $2.8 million, that pays for 8 full-time police officers and portions of 2 lieutenants and 1 captain. The administration of the staff is pretty much the same, subject to annual labor cost changes. The lifeguard, the harbor pays a portion, percentage relative to the shorelines that the city has and how much of that is in the harbor area. And the property management is what the harbor pays for the property management and public works division for managing their leased properties. The debt service is about $131,000. Bulk of that, about $105,000 of that goes for the payment of a loan for the police boat that was borrowed from the vehicle replacement funds. And then we have a bond that we are paying about $24,000 a year. And this year is the year before last, and next fiscal year, that bond will be completely paid off. The harbor capital improvement projects, we have some new projects. We have the harbor infrastructure repairs and the dock approaches and gates. These are critical components that are in bad need of repair, and we have to get to them very soon. Otherwise, the cost of repair and replacement will substantially increase. And then the harbor fishing pier and the Jolly Roger dock replacement, those are both grants. $87,500 and $212,000 that you see are harbor matching funds. The first project is about $350,000 from California Wildlife Conservancy, and the junior dock is about the Jolly Roger dock replacement is about $950,000, and that's for the California Department of Park and Wildlife. And so the $2.19 million that you see, that is not money that is from the harbor revenue. That is the money that we are using from one of the harbor reserve funds. The harbor has 2 reserve funds, one for $3.6 million, one for $950,000. The $2.1 million will be paid from the $3.6 million reserve. That will leave only $1.4 million in that reserve account. And the $950,000 is the so-called the rainy for emergency days. So with that, we're recommending that you adopt a resolution to approve the 22-23 Small Craft Harbor District operating budget and approve the 22-23 Small Craft Harbor District CIP budget. And I'll be happy to answer questions.
Thank you. Is that staff's presentation? No? Okay, thank you. A nod. All right, this is the time for to hear from the public. If you submitted a slip, thank you very much. You actually don't have to have submitted a slip. So we'll go ahead and take those that submitted a slip first, and then I'll call out if you wish to speak. Please approach the podium. You have up to, and provide your name, and you have up to 3 minutes to speak. Go ahead.
Our first speaker is Shelley Parker, to be followed by Steve Mayshew, to be followed by Robert Ashton.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, council members. My name is Shelley Parker. First, I want to say, I want to speak about the new position for the Code Enforcement Officer number 3 for the mobile home parks for mandated inspections. I hope that what comes of this is going to be more in-depth inspections for both the homeowners and the common area, and that we get an employee that, the city employee that understands what it is life in a mobile home park needs to be and the way maintenance needs to be done. I think this is something that I'm very happy about. In the 16B rent control fund, there are many charges for staffing in it. Last year was $12,000 for the inspections. Now the new code enforcement is going to be $149,000. I hope that they are actually dedicated to the mobile home parks, and that we will see a revamping of the common area inspection, and that this will actually improve the housing affordability standards in the city of Oceanside overall. I know that Leilani Hines and other people have been stressed about the way that things have gone, so I'm hoping that this is a good move for improvement for this community, since there are so many people that live in the 15 mobile home parks in this city. And I just want to make another note. Fabiola, who spoke earlier, was inspiring, and it is nice to see that funds in programs have contributed to somebody's ability to raise themselves to a level where they can be productive and give back to the city. She was inspiring. I'm going to go down there and see if I can help her. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Steve Mashew, a member of SOS and a North Coast Village board member, but tonight I'm speaking as a North Coast Village property owner. I'm concerned that looking at this budget, we just heard, there's no significant new money in there for sand replenishment or retention. I know that we've got a lot of discussion on this, but I have not heard it. When my wife and I bought a place at North Coast Village in 1995, there were a couple volleyball courts on the beach in front of the breakwater restroom, then the lifeguard stand in front of that with plenty of beach still. And that is too long ago. Now it's back to almost behind the front of our complex, and the lifeguard stand is sort of crowded in there. It's very tight. The North Strand has continued to lose sand every year. I believe that without the cobbles that are out there on the beach, which are annoying, we would have lost a lot more. Maybe the North Strand is only a few winter storms away from a total loss. We've seen what happened to all the southern part of the beaches. We're expecting it to happen up at our end as well. What's going to happen? You might be tempted to wait for this regional solution, the possible RBSP3 project of Sandag, but it's probably in all reality 6 to 10 years out. And even if it does get funded, when you spread that money and the sand all the way up and down the beaches, it's still just a drop in the bucket for the total sand. Yeah, last year, the councils at this same meeting set aside $5 million of the ARP funds, I believe, for it, and another $1 million to quickly get sand on the beach, but not much has happened to spend much of that since that time that I can see. And even if we had that $6 million spent, it still would be another drop in the bucket. These projects are very expensive, and they're going to require an accumulation of funds from the city to be a share with the county, Sandag, the state, in order to get the federal funding needed to get the whole job done. We should be stashing away some money each year towards that fund to do it, and I don't see anything in there for this year. 50 years ago this October, Ashley Murphy broke ground on North Coast Village. A few weeks later, Proposition 20 passed, establishing the Coastal Commission. Since that time, North Coast Village has had a continuous struggle with the Coastal Commission. The city really needs the authority to manage our own shoreline, and including permitting heavy equipment on the beach to repair revetments.
Thank you, sir.
So that's important for our LCP. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, good evening, Mayor Sanchez and Oceanside City Council. I'm speaking on behalf of SOS Oceanside and would like to pass SOS's thanks to the city leadership for taking bold and decisive actions to conduct a shoreline study and a request for proposal towards the design of a solution for restoring sand and retaining much-needed sand to our shoreline. In support of this effort, SOS Oceanside strongly recommends obligating an additional $2 million surplus from this year's budget for Oceanside Shoreline stabilization projects such as major sand replenishment. Our shoreline should be considered as critical infrastructure. As such, shoreline stabilization is not adequately addressed in the fiscal year 2023 budget. In fact, after a review, the proposed city's budget, the only mention of the shoreline stabilization or beach nourishment is in the 3-page Measure X document. It only mentions the replenishment as an additional program that could be funded by Measure X in the amount of $4.2 million over 7 years, or $600,000 a year. Based on this year's dredging event and costs, $600,000 would get us about 40,000 cubic yards of sand, only if done in conjunction with the mobilization of the dredge. If you add this to the 250,000 cubic yards pulled out of the mouth of our harbor, that's about 300,000 cubic yards of sand annually onto the beach. Experts cite we lose 250,000 to 450,000 cubic yards of sand annually. Do the math. That puts us in deficit, and it's evident by our shoreline. A broad sandy beach provides shoreline resiliency. Currently, approximately 2 miles of our 3.7 mile beach has no dry sand any time of the night or day. This is 54% of our shoreline. Considering if the approximately 177,000 Oceanside residents were to go onto that shoreline that has dry sand, that gives us 104,000 residents per mile of beach. That doesn't even consider our neighboring cities, our inland cities, and our tourists that come to enjoy the beach with us. This is more people per mile of beach than anywhere in San Diego County. I frequently encounter potential beachgoers as I'm coming and going out of the water, surfing or body surfing or with my family. And I encountered a couple the other day, and they said, "Hey, where's there some dry sand?" And I said, "Well, you got to go up north of Tyson or to the harbor." And they looked me in the eye and they said, "We're going to Carlsbad. There's always dry sand there." So SOS Oceanside requests you unanimously consider earmarking the $2 million surplus for Oceanside shoreline stabilization. Our beaches are in dire conditions and absolutely need the funding now. This investment on beach critical infrastructure is clearly warranted to ensure Oceanside shoreline resiliency now and in the future. Thank you.
Linda Walshaw, to be followed by Robert Walker, to be followed by John Tenaglia.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Linda Walshaw. I am the president of, actually the CEO of Mobile Home Advisory Committee, which represents Oceanside parks and parks throughout North County. I've been getting a lot of calls the last few days about the code enforcement position that's listed in the budget, because it mentions that it's specifically to address the Title 25 inspections. What is happening is people are concerned because the annual health and safety inspections done by the city happen only once a year. And the rumors that are going through the parks already, we have management personnel saying to people in some of the parks that are a little more challenged than others, just you wait till these Title 25 inspections happen. We're going to get you for your stairs, or we're going to get you for this and that. And it's already causing drama. So people have a lot of questions as to what the purpose of these will be and how often they will occur or are allowed to occur. And also I'm being asked about how is this position being paid for, because there are also discussions going around that some of the salaries for certain things are being paid out of the registration fees for the parks, which is supposed to be intended for the administration of 16B. So if anybody has any answers that I can take back to our communities, Diane Hansen is here this evening, president of OMHA, and we're trying to work on these things together. These people are frightened because of the things that are happening in their own parks and because of things that are going on with their own park owners and their own situations. They're facing some really difficult challenges, and especially if they should lose this housing. And they've got enough to worry about without being panicked every time there's a line item on a council agenda. So if we can get more information in advance, or if anybody can answer any of these questions for us this evening, we would really appreciate the information. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, council members. My name is Bob Walker. I live at 1227 Larchwood Drive. I truly want to thank the City Council for acknowledging the fact that the city's most valuable asset, our beaches, is in dire strait, and you're attempting to mitigate the issue. I hope that we can continue the momentum with an ongoing sand restoration program. As you are all aware, if we attempt to rebuild beaches without any type of retention system, it will be a long and costly project. As I was reviewing the city budget, I could not find anywhere monies dedicated to sand restoration. This costly project needs attention now and every budget process in the future. Oceanside has a $2 million budget surplus without any money set aside for beach restoration. I ask that you go back and add a budget item for beach restoration in the budget. We have all heard verbal commitments for sand restoration from all city leaders. It's now time for a unanimous vote that endorses a budget item for a continued beach restoration program. Thank you.
Thank you.
Do I wait for the green light or do I? Oh, there we go.
There you
Right.
go.
Good evening, Mayor Sanchez and fellow council members. My name is John Tenalia. I'd like to introduce myself specifically to Councilmember Gonzalez, Rodriguez and Jensen. I don't think we've ever met. I know the other mayors or council members well. I'm the grandson of Kenyon and Louise Keith, who founded St. Malo Beach in 1929. We're a third-generation Oceanside family. And I've been here 66 years. I just gave that number up, obviously. And I've seen this shoreline obviously disappear. As a kid, it was a beautiful beach, which of course we have lost. So I'm here to talk about your $2.06 million surplus and what I think you should do with it, but I'm going to circle back to that in just a minute. So I was the point guy that negotiated the lagoon restoration with Sandag and the feds and the state. It took me 13 years to do that. And the reason why that deal got done was because I convinced my camp that we could negotiate terms that were acceptable to us. And we were able to do that because we had the leverage. We owned the property that they needed to do the restoration. Unfortunately, with our shoreline, neither I nor our HOA has that leverage, but you do. You're the 5 most powerful people in this city. And I look at you, I'll give you a great analogy. Look at the city as a publicly held corporation. You have 175,000 shareholders, of which they're all sitting here in this room. So the shareholders look to the executive group to run policy, to guide the city, the corporation, be financially responsible, but also improve the corporation, the city. So where I'm going with that specifically is this. So I met with Kyle Frolander, council member, or Congressman's Mike Levin's right-hand man about a month ago with Dirk Acema. In that, we discovered that the $1.8 million funding for the study with the Corps is going to take about a year and a half. The description of the property another 4 to 5 years, and design, engineering, permitting another 4 to 5 years. That's about 12 years. That's too long. Sandag, Regional Sand Replenishment Program. Yep, great idea, but that's going to take 7 to 10 years, most likely. It took me 13 years with Keith Greer and company on the lagoon, so you can imagine what's going to happen with this. Bottom line is this. I think as our council members, you should take matters into your own hands. You've got $5 million from the American Recovery Act. You've got $2 million surplus. That's $7 million. I would suggest submit that you get to Manson, put an addendum to the contract for next year's dredging at the harbor mouth, piggyback offshore, go to the borough site outside of Camp Pendleton that San Clemente is going to use, and get sand on our beach immediately. And you're the only 5 people that can do that. I hope you do that. I'm pulling for you. You have my vote. Let's get it done. Thank you.
Thank you.
That concludes all the registered speakers that we
Thank you. So I'd like to go ahead and invite others who would like to speak now to let the council know your input on the budget. Basically, that's what we're hearing on. and making a decision on. Yep. So if you could give your name and then speak for 3 minutes. Thank you.
Rob
Mr.
Howard, Oceanside resident, Honorable Mayor, Council. This is tough, and you have to make decisions. But I want to ask you to really think about something. I'm looking at the Housing and Neighborhood Services and the Parks and Recs. We are constantly asking our police department to do more than honestly I believe they should be doing. And I've spent 30 plus years in the nuclear industry, and we believe in prevention. You don't want to wait till an accident happens. And so I'm just asking if somehow, some way, there's different programs, but can we staff the community centers so that our young people and the individuals in the neighborhood have the resources they need so that the communities begin to be preventative on community development. And that part of it is, one example is career tech ed at Oceanside High School, but where are we doing to connect that? Because we have all these hotels, we have a tourism industry, yet where's the training? I know the chamber is working on some things for internships and things like that, but I think we got working in our communities, supporting our community centers, and there are young people who are wonderful, wonderful with the residents in the community. They're culturally competent, they know the community, and having more, but yet there's not enough of them. So as we are looking forward to what we're spending our money on, I believe it's money well spent. $500,000 will get you quite a few people in those community centers each year. So I'm just asking that yes, tourism is important, but if our community is not supported, you increase the gaps between the haves and the have-nots. And thank you all, because budgets are always tough. But I would just ask you to really take a focus and consider the individuals in these communities, increasing the staff at those community centers so that our community members actually get access to the revenue that the city has. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other requests to speak?
Good evening to the Honorable Mayor Sanchez and to the full council. I do want to make one quick correction. I want to also be identified with my previous comments as program manager for a nonprofit called the Protect Our Communities Foundation. Regarding the budget, I'm really just want to ask an open question, kind of curious if the city of San Diego is in position to receive funding from our federal government with the President Biden's infrastructure bill. There's a lot of infrastructure projects that I saw listed on there, and there's needs even with our sea shorelines. And so from a climate equitable perspective, I would also encourage that the city consider having a climate equity funding in order to help fund some of the projects that was recommended. In addition to that, I feel like all these additional projects that was named is trying to put their hands on that $2 million. That $2 million surplus is not much. And so I openly want to ask if the city is in position to receive new funding money, because it looked like it wasn't much new money from the federal government that can help really support the projects and the needs of the city. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other requests to speak? I see no one else rising, so I'm going to go ahead and close this portion of the hearing and go to staff. There are some questions that were asked. Mr. Borrego?
Sure. Honorable Mayor and council members, I'd be happy to address some of the questions and comments that were raised. First, with respect to the code enforcement position that is dedicated to mobile home park inspections. So for everyone's knowledge, there's two types of inspections that take place within our mobile home parks. One form of inspection has to do with our rent control ordinance, and we do annual inspections as part of that, as was mentioned by Ms. Walshaw. But there's also Title 25 inspections that we're required under state law to conduct on our mobile home parks as well. And under that program, we're required to inspect a minimum of 2 mobile home parks per year under the Title 25. The concerns and questions that Ms. Walshaw raised regarding the effect of those Title 25 inspections on the mobile home parks residents is something that actually that we have been discussing internally. Through those Title 25 inspections, it is possible that deficiencies could be identified within certain mobile home parks, because unlike the inspections that take place as part of the rent control ordinance, the Title 25 inspections actually happen within the coaches or on the coaches themselves. So we have been in discussions with our housing manager, our housing director, Leilani, to identify potential funding sources to help offset the costs of any improvements that are identified. We certainly recognize that our mobile home park residents are on very tight incomes, and if there is some form of income that we can identify to help offset the costs of those inspections, we would certainly like to do that. So what I would suggest on that particular issue is, I would like to meet with Ms. Walshall or any other interests in the mobile home parks to kind of discuss the process moving forward and collaborate again with our housing director as well to see if there is a way to kind of, help soften the results of those inspections that may result in some identified deficiencies within the coaches themselves. So it's definitely something that is on our radar and that we are willing to take a closer look at.
Yeah, I believe that was paired with, was it home funds?
Yes.
That were used.
Right.
In the past.
Yes.
So
yes.
just to continue and see how that can be coordinated.
Yes, and that is an option that we can consider. Again, we need to make sure that we have funding available to do that, but it is an issue that we're certainly aware of and certainly aware of some of the concerns that have been discussed out in the mobile home parks, in the mobile home park communities. With respect to the sand question and the question of funding for sand, as this council knows and many of the members of SOS are aware, we have been trying to address this issue proactively on a number of fronts. As was alluded to by some speakers, under the first tranche of funding from the American Rescue Plan, the City Council allocated $1 million towards sand restoration. Moving forward and consistent with direction that we've been receiving from Council, we're going to be recommending another $4 million be allocated in the second tranche of ARPA funding, and that's going to be coming to City Council at your next meeting on June 22nd for consideration. So all told, we would be dedicating $5 million in sand restoration. Now, clearly, as some speakers have mentioned, that's not necessarily a long-term funding solution. Certainly, providing a consistent source of sand is going to require some additional funding down the road. I will say that with our newly hired Coastal Zone Administrator, Jamie Timberlake, that is, looking at identifying potential long-term funding sources is something that's definitely that we're looking forward to as well, because we do realize that we need to identify funding beyond this $5 million to get us where we need to be long-term. We are obviously very much in tune with what SANDAG is looking at in terms of a potential third regional sand replenishment program. We are actively working and meeting with the Army Corps to define the scope of their study that was alluded to, that was finally initiated. Well, it's actually not completely initiated. We're pushing for them to initiate it, but it should be initiated shortly as a result of the $1.8 million in funding that Congressman Levin was able to help assist with in getting that allocation. So, in terms of what we can be doing in terms of this budget, I mean, obviously we do, as you know, and you heard during your presentation, we do have a budget surplus. I wouldn't necessarily, honestly, suggest using that surplus money for that. It's kind of a rainy day fund. And with the economic uncertainty out there with respect to, the global economy, I would feel more comfortable as staff hanging on to that surplus and using it in case we need it down the road for some unforeseen circumstances.
Thank you. So back to the council. Councilmember Rodriguez.
I actually just want to make a brief comment. I had a council agenda item I was going to have on tonight, but I actually pushed it to the 22nd because I knew we were cramming things in before July, where council takes a break. This is respect to Measure X and the city's funding with respect to homelessness. We're spending millions of dollars on mitigating the homeless crisis in our community, whether that's through our HOT team, through taking down and issuing notices through our code enforcement on illegal encampments, the debris haul, and one item since I've been on council that I've noticed that's been a little fictitious is the annual point-in-time count done by a nonprofit organization and volunteers. And every time I see that number, I'm like, there's no way there's only this amount of individuals in our city. We really need to do a more thorough approach to really getting to the bottom of how many individuals in our city. Obviously, that's changing day to day, week to week, month to month, but really get an idea so that our policy decisions that we're making to try to offset the homeless crisis, because to me, lowering the homeless population should be the ultimate goal when we spend money on it, not increasing. So if we were to take the point in time count and all the millions of dollars we've spent over the last 2 years and the number has increased, then that tells me that we're failing and we need to like totally dissolve these programs and things and start from scratch, which I don't think is necessary. I think we really need to get a more accurate number of how many homeless individuals are in our city, spend the resources, and do it correctly. And I know in speaking with you, Mr. Borrego, our HOT team has a lot better data and an idea of how many individuals they've interviewed, surveyed, are helping, and it's significantly more than the point in time count. And so I guess what I'm getting at, and we'll talk further in the future, but we are talking about Measure X money and we're approving a budget tonight. I want to make sure that, you know, my colleagues in the community and you're on the same page with my support of this is, especially with respect to spending money on homelessness, our policy needs to be tied with our own in-house data that's accurate, that we have control of, and not based on a nonprofit's assessment and volunteers' assessment of how many homeless individuals they think are in our city. And I want to make sure our policy is tied to the hard data and information that we collect. That way, from year to year, we could see we're making an impact. Because right now, the report we have from 2 years apart shows that we're not. And we need to do a better job of conveying to the public that we just spent millions of your tax dollars, and here's what we got done, and here's how we can prove we were successful to offsetting the homeless crisis in our city. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Weiss.
Thank you. I just want to thank all those that participated in this lengthy process, which starts probably back in December and culminates in this action this evening. I would just like to point out, if you get the backup material, for those of you pointing out the $2 million surplus we have, we really don't have a $2 million surplus, because if you look 2 years out, that surplus drops to about $500,000. So if we spent the $2 million today, we'd be in a deficit spending position in 2 years. So with that, I know there are things in the budget that I'd like to see different. I don't disagree with Councilmember Rodriguez's assessment on the homeless situation, but this has been a long journey to get to this point, and I will move approval of all of staff's recommendations.
Thank you, Councilmember Weiss. I'm going to go ahead and second that motion. I also want to thank the staff and Mr. Borrego, I thank you for addressing all the issues that have come up during this process. It has been, these 2 years have been very difficult for our community, and I think Mr. Howard talked about after-school programming. That's certainly something that we have been talking about for quite a while, and so ARPA is hopefully going to be able to address that, which is coming at the June 22nd meeting. But all the things, you know, some of the infrastructure projects that have been put off, and to include traffic, can't even say it, traffic calming, which is something that I think the community has been really asking for. I know it's a small investment at this point, but hopefully we can continue that program and see how we can be innovative. And I know there are different ways of doing traffic calming now that maybe are less expensive. So I'm really looking forward to, to our new program for that. Excuse me. But Deputy Mayor Keim.
Again, at this point in the budget, it's time for changes is passed. We've been working hard. I want to thank staff for all their hard work and getting to where we are now. I know there's been a lot of uncertainty in the last 2 years, but the meetings and the info and the hard work and dedication to putting together, I believe, a conservative and responsible budget to keep us going forward. So thank you, staff, very much.
Do you know other lights? Please vote.
Motion approved, 5-0.
Thank you. We're on to item number 28. That's adoption of resolutions confirming the diagrams and assessments for each of the following landscape maintenance districts for fiscal year 22-23 and ordering the assessments to be levied for fiscal year 22-23. And they include Del Oro Hills, Douglas Park, Wahome Ridge, Mar-Lago Highlands, Mission Meadows, Peacock Hills, Rancho Hermosa, Santa Fe Mesa, Sunburst Homes, Sunset Hills, and Vista del Oro. I'd like to go ahead and open this public hearing and request disclosures from our council members regarding constituent contacts and correspondence.
Staff and several members of the public.
Staff and the public.
Staff?
Staff and the public.
Thank you. Mr. Navarro, do we have any correspondence and or petitions?
We do not have any correspondence or petition on this item.
Thank you. We're going to begin with a report from Ms. Vicky Gutierrez, Real Estate Manager. Ms. Gutierrez?
Thank you. Honorable Mayor, council members, good evening. My name is Vicky Gutierrez. I'm the Real Estate Manager for the Public Works Department Property Management Division. So staff is recommending council to approve the item before you for the 11 of the 11 city's landscape maintenance districts. The city's landscape maintenance districts were formed pursuant to the authority granted by the Landscaping and Lighting Act of 1972 of the California Streets and Highways Code. And each year, council is required to conduct a public hearing regarding the proposed assessments to be levied within the districts. So the assessments within the districts will remain the same for fiscal year 2022 and 23 as they were last fiscal year in all districts within the staff report except for Douglas Park, Wahome Ridge, Rancho Hermosa, and Vista del Rio districts. Those districts include a CPI adjustment. The proposed assessments identified within the engineer's report will be used to pay the costs associated with each of the city's 11 landscape maintenance districts for fiscal year 2022-23. That's to cover operations, maintenance, and material costs associated with each district. That concludes my presentation. Staff recommends council to approve the item before you for the 11 landscape maintenance assessments districts for fiscal year 22-23, adopt a resolutions confirming the diagrams and assessments for each district, and ordering the assessments to be levied for the fiscal year 2022-23. I'm now available to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you very much. Do we have any requests to speak from the public?
We have one speaker, Suzanne Hume.
Thank you. As Ms. Hume is coming forward, I do want to let the public know that if you wish to speak, you can, on this specific topic, you can approach the podium, and when it's time for you to speak, please speak, giving your name, and you have up to 3 minutes. Ms. Hume?
Thank you. Hello, everyone, and thank you for your really amazing, difficult, hard work. Great job with the budget. I wanted to say we're talking about landscaping, we're talking about maintenance, and so it's really important to talk about pesticides and toxic chemicals and keeping our kids safe. So happy that Oceanside passed an IPM. Back in the day, our seats were full with youth that worked on this for years. So thank you to the city of Oceanside. We must protect our kids from toxic chemicals that hurt their brains, their ability to learn, and their future so that they can thrive and take part in all that life has to offer. So we were a little concerned about the, I guess was called the one-off with the pesticides getting into the water that led to Oceanside getting a water violation with the California Water Board. So I just want to be here, and all that we discuss and talk about in the forefront of our minds needs to be our children's health and what we are doing. So there's lots of information on how toxic chemicals and pesticides harm children's learning and brains forever. As you know, the U.S. only bans 15 pesticides. China bans 51 pesticides. The EU bans 175 pesticides. There are pesticides that were approved that are very unsafe. 89% of pesticides were approved, were waived from testing between the years of 2011 and 2018. So we know this is a crisis. After I was poisoned by pesticides, unfortunately, the city of Oceanside is still leasing to West Coast tomato growers using pesticides banned in other countries, 100 feet on 3 sides from where people live. Anyhow, that led to inflammation, lung condition, etc. Anyway, I've done a lot of research. We have a lot of information on cleanearthforkids.org. I ask all of us, and of course, thank you, Vicki, to make sure that anyone leasing land or on our lands is respecting children's health and their future and really taking this seriously. If anyone would like to work or collaborate to find out the failings of, the California and the U.S., that's all documented, please let me know, because there's a lot of important work to do. So thank you again, and thanks again for getting the pesticides out of the parks in Oceanside. Thank you to Mayor Sanchez, Councilmember Kime, and everyone who helped with that. So thanks again.
Thank you very much. Any other requests to speak from the public? If you do, please rise and approach the podium. Provide your name, and you can speak for up to 3 minutes.
Hi, my name's Neil Hancock, and I'm a resident of Oceanside, and I live in the Mar-a-Lago Highlands district that you're voting on tonight. I support the number. We pay about $500 a year for services. The problem is that right now we've got a horrible vendor that the city has retained. They're an absolute disgrace. They only do part of the bargain. They show up to the site. The second part of the bargain is you do the work. And I could tell you today we had, and I understand the whole Christmas in June thing, and you got extra money and you got to spend your money or the council's not going to fill those coffers next year and all that kind of stuff. But we had a truck show up today, 9 o'clock this morning, tucked away, back up, kind of out of sight and obscured. Showed up with a truck and a trailer. Nothing in either one of them. That vehicle left at 2 o'clock this afternoon, 1 bag in the trailer. And I can tell you that Rancho del Oro's been coming in and supplementing in our park area and doing some work. And they made 3 trash runs today because they overflowed. I mean, we're talking like 50 bags of garbage that they created. We've had a tree crew come into the neighborhood to so-called thin out trees. 3 trees, took 6 days. Imagine if that was in your backyard. That's what's in our backyard. Today, that same tree crew was in our neighborhood again, pulled up to the site, chipper truck, where the opening is, instead of backing in and putting the chipper back there so that you could chip stuff. Well, they weren't going to chip anything because everybody knows when the chipper's running, it's noisy. No chainsaws, no chipper truck running today. The bottom line is we had a supervisor, an irrigator. We've got people coming into our neighborhood right now, and they're doing nothing. We just want them to do their job. Now, I know we got a new vendor. I'm excited about having a new vendor. But one of the things that I would like to recommend to you is let's not give 4-year agreements. Let's not even give 2-year agreements. Give a 1-year agreement with some extensions, but they have to basically cut the mustard in order to get that extension. We're not getting what we're paying for. And I'm really excited about what the city's going to do to talk to us later about what's going on, whether our LMAT actually functions correctly and whether we've got the right financing and try to do another vote and get an increase. Thank you, guys. It's a shame of what's going on, and they're robbing us. It's not only us, it's you guys too. We're all partners in this. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hancock. And Mr. Gossman, could you speak with Mr. Hancock and see if we could do look into what his comments were?
Yeah, the Honorable Mayor, members of the council, regarding the use of the pesticide and chemicals, all our contractors.
Thank you, Mr. Gossman.
Pardon me?
Sorry. Go ahead.
either in the LMAD areas or anywhere else in the city and also in the harbor area. As part of the provisions of their contract, they have to comply with the city IPM and the state and regional rules and regulations. And we monitor them, and we welcome any input from Ms. Hume or anyone else who can advise us on how better make sure that our contractors are in compliance. In terms of efficiency and the delivery of service by our contractors, that is a challenge, and I'm glad that the gentleman brought it up, and we will look into the specific cases that was brought up, the specific days and locations, and we will look into those, and we are going to make sure that we have a more stringent supervision, especially not only of our own staff, which are doing a tremendous job, but our contractors, not only for landscape, but other activities, to make sure that they earn the money that we're paying them.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak? This is a public hearing. This is a time for the public to speak. Please approach the podium. Have up to 3 minutes. I see no one else rising. I'm going to go ahead and close this portion of the public hearing. And let's see, go to, I guess there's no other questions I think that you need to respond to. So go to the council. Councilmember Weiss.
I would just like to assure Ms. Hume that this item has absolutely nothing to do with pesticides. This is merely assessing properties for the
Right.
For provision of services. So I will move approval of staff recommendation.
There's a motion and a second for adoption. Please vote.
Motion approved, 5-0.
Thank you. We're moving now to item number 29, adoption of a resolution approving the engineer's report confirming the diagram and assessments and ordering the assessments to be levied for fiscal year 2022 to 2023 for the Oceanside Lighting District. I'm going to go ahead, and that's district number 2-1991. I'm going to go ahead and open this public hearing, request disclosures from our council members regarding constituent contacts and correspondence.
Staff.
Staff?
Staff.
Mr. Navarro, do we have any correspondence and or petitions?
We have not received any correspondence or petition on this item.
Thank you. Going to staff, we have a report beginning from Vicky Gutierrez, Real Estate Manager. Ms. Gutierrez?
Good evening once again, Honorable Mayor and Council members. Staff is recommending Council to approve the item before you for the Oceanside Lighting District, Assessment District 2-1991. The Oceanside Lighting District was again formed in 1991 pursuant to the authority granted by the Landscaping and Lighting Act of 1972 of the California States and Highway Code. And each year, Council is required to conduct a public hearing regarding the proposed assessments to be levied within the district. Since the formation of the Lighting District in 1991, the district assessments being levied have remained the same. One of our largest components of the overall expenditures within this district is the electric consumption. The total assessments to be levied by the Lighting District for fiscal year 2022-23 are approximately $1,664,000. That concludes my presentation. Staff recommends Council to approve the item before you for the Oceanside Lighting District, adopting resolutions confirming the diagram and assessments for fiscal year 2022-23, and ordering the assessments to be levied for the fiscal year. And I'm also available to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you very much. Do we have any requests to speak?
We don't have any registered speakers on this item.
Thank you. This is a time to hear from the public. If you wish to speak on this item, this is the Lighting District number 2-1991. Please rise, approach the podium, and you have up to 3 minutes to speak. I see no one rising. Oh, I saw somebody move for a second. But I see no one rising, so I'm going to go ahead and close this portion of the public hearing. And thank you, Ms. Gutierrez. Well, let's see if council members have any questions. But to the council, there's a motion to approve, to adopt the resolutions.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Please vote.
Motion approved, 5-0.
Thank you. On to item number 30. That's adopting a resolution ordering the temporary closure of Lagoon View Drive while reserving access solely for emergency response vehicles and storm drain maintenance. I'm going to go ahead and open this public hearing. Request disclosure from council members regarding constituent contacts and correspondence.
Staff and public.
Staff and public.
Staff and the public, and I believe we have heard in open session some comments.
Staff and public.
Staff and public.
Thank you. Mr. Navarro, do we have any correspondence and/or petitions?
We have not received any correspondence or petition on this item.
Thank you. We're going to go ahead and begin with a report from Mr. William Tuck, Land Surveyor.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, members of the council. William Tuck, Land Surveyor with the Engineering Department. Staff is recommending City Council adopt a resolution to temporarily close Lagoon View Drive for a period of 18 months, reserving access for emergency vehicles and for storm drain maintenance. Lagoon View Drive was originally part of Route 14, which connected Oceanside to Vista back in 1951. Highway 78 was constructed. Upon completion, Caltrans relinquished a portion of Route 14 that was no longer used for Highway 78 to the city of Oceanside. And in 1973, Caltrans reconfigured a portion of Jefferson and Lagoon View Drive. That portion, once was completed, was relinquished to the city of Oceanside. The city owns Lagoon View Drive in fee. Lagoon View Drive is not open to through traffic, but is occasionally used for helicopter evacuations of crash victims on the adjoining highways there. And it's also occasionally used for any emergency response for fires, rescue operations, things of that nature related to the lagoon. During the past 22 months, the city has received a number of complaints regarding transit issues, illegal activity, and illegal dumping along Lagoon View Drive. During this time, Oceanside Police Department has responded to 14 calls for various incidences, some including illegal drug use and sales, theft of motor vehicles, unregistered vehicles, illegal dumping, sexual assault, and encampments. The proximity of Lagoon View Drive to protected habitat of Buena Vista Lagoon has raised concerns related to the illegal littering and dumping from waste from RVs and other encampments. As a sole owner of the adjacent properties, the state of California was notified by certified mail of this hearing. The exhibit up on the screen here shows the location of Lagoon View Drive, the proposed location of the access gate, and the adjacent parcels owned by the state of California. California Vehicle Code Section 21101.4 authorizes temporary closure of roadways by local authorities when, after public hearing, based upon recommendations of the police department, the local authority finds and determines serious and continuous criminal activity or illegal dumping exists. Findings must be based on the following criteria. The road is not designated as a through street. Lagoon View Road is not a through street. Vehicles or pedestrian traffic contribute to criminal activity or illegal dumping. Lagoon View Road has seen an increase in the number of vehicles parked overnight, increased number of urban campers, and an increase in the amount of illegal dumping materials along the stretch of road. And finally, the closure will not substantially adversely affect traffic flow. Lagoon View Drive is a cul-de-sac. It's not a through street. And there are no points of access for any kind of recreational activities, approved residential, commercial, or industrial uses. The California Vehicle Code allows for initial closure of 18 months once the government body makes its determination. The California Vehicle Code allows for additional time extensions of closures not to exceed 18 months for each extension upon approval through the public hearing process. This process can be carried out only 9 times via public hearing for a maximum period of 13.5 years. Upon expiration of the last term, the city must either reopen the roadway or proceed with abandonment of the roadway. For each public hearing, staff is required to provide written notice to the adjacent property owners, which is the state of California. Based on the activity over the past 22 months and the proximity to protected habitat of Lagoon View, Buena Vista Lagoon to Lagoon View Drive, staff believes that it is in the best interest of the city to temporarily close the street for 18 months. During this time, staff will monitor activities and continue to provide as needed emergency response and maintenance services. The staff will also monitor the area and ensure road closure does not contribute to an increase in the nuisance activity along this stretch of roadway. As noted in the photographs, illegal dumping and camping has become and continues to be problematic in this area. The fiscal impact for this is approximately $28,000 for staff time, installation of an access gate, signage, prohibiting access to the street, and annual maintenance. Expenditures will be covered through the American Rescue Plan Act. In conclusion, it is staff's recommendation that the City Council adopt a resolution temporarily closing Lagoon View Drive for 18 months while preserving access for emergency vehicles and storm drain maintenance crews. And leave it open for any questions.
Thank you very much. Do we have any requests to speak?
Yes, we do have one from Katie Taylor.
I didn't see her. Must be, oh, there you are.
Yeah.
Is that a smile?
Yeah.
Okay.
Katie Taylor, Fire Mountain, Oceanside. Thank you, City Council. I'm so happy tonight. I can't even tell you, even though I'm damaged. I'm thrilled. I want to thank staff, everybody here who worked so hard on this project, because this is a blight, it's a danger, it's just a problem that needs to be resolved. I've got a file folder full of pictures, and he showed a few. I could show you. I've probably got hundreds of what's going on down there and what they do. And you see the same vehicles parked every day. And there's one vehicle, this one right there, I'm going to show you. That one. This picture, I was taking pictures of the trash. It's in the next picture. And the two men in that vehicle got out and came towards me yelling and screaming and using foul language and threatening me if I didn't leave. So this is the kind of people who are congregating down there. And if you put that there, and the one suggestion I would have, where the gate's gonna go, from Jefferson Street to where the gate is, that the curbs be painted red, so it's clear there's absolutely no parking going into Lagoon View Road, because I don't know how many feet before the gate starts and if a car could go there. And I don't know if it'd be possible, too, to put no public access. Because if you put no public access, that would preclude people trying to camp there and do other activities. I want to offer to the city tonight, if painting those curbs red and putting a couple additional signs costs money, I will donate to the city, whatever that cost is. But I thank you so much for pushing this forward. I want to thank Mr. Gossman and all the city staff who've worked hard on this. And I'm asking you, I'm begging you, please approve this resolution tonight.
Thank you, Ms. Taylor. And I was seeing a lot of nodding by Mr. Tucker, so signage and red striping.
So the location of the entrance gate, that is to accommodate emergency vehicles as they come in to open up that gate so that they're not blocking Jefferson Street, causing further vehicle issues there. As far as painting the curbs red, I will discuss that with staff, and I don't see how that would be an issue. So,
thank you very much. Any other requests to speak from the public? I see.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the registered speakers.
Well, I guess in general. I see no one else rising, so I'm going to go ahead and close this portion of the public hearing. And I think you've already responded. So, Councilmember Rodriguez.
Thank you to the public for bringing this to our attention on multiple occasions. I'm glad we can move on this. I mean, this is going to really eliminate vehicular traffic, overnight camping, and then, individuals moving furniture and things with vehicles onto the site. But I still think we're still going to have to clearly enforce, as you stated, the foot traffic that is regularly in that area. I drive by this almost on a daily basis. And so I would just encourage staff to, after this is set up, to put a little extra pressure, a few extra trips with code enforcement just to keep the pressure on it along the way. But yeah, I'm excited. I'd like to move forward on this item.
Okay, Councilmember Rodriguez has moved adoption. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. Please vote.
Motion approved, 5-0.
Got it, Ms. Taylor? Okay, back to item number 26. Apologies that we had to address our 6 o'clock on time certain items. So we were just finished with Mr. Davenport, so Ellen Bartlett, I believe, was next. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Thank you.
I kind of forgot all about what I was here for after all that time. Mayor, and I can't get that to go down anymore for my short here. I just wanted to say that I never thought when I started coming here in around 2017 to talk about community choice energy that it would take so long for the city to actually be considering a resolution to actually put our city on there. And I wanted to thank you, even though it took so long, much longer than I thought it would be. It's a win-win for our city. There is really nothing negative that would preclude taking so long in the first place. I also want to say that the most important to me is I have an 8-year-old grandson that lives here in Oceanside, and cutting our greenhouse gases is just so very, very important. And the other thing I would like to say is because of the revenue that's coming in, I think we need to prioritize economically disadvantaged people in our community to receive that money so they can get, we have solar panels on our house, but there are many, many people that would like to have solar panels that can't get them. I taught at Oceanside High School for many years, and we were past the 50% free and reduced lunch mark. There's many families in Oceanside that I think are deserving of the revenue that's coming in rather than having SDG&E shareholders who have been getting that money. So I'm hoping that there will be priority given to our economically disadvantaged communities to make sure that they are able to, receive some of the funds as far as getting solar panels and other, things that could help them as far as reducing their greenhouse gases and, helping them in their homes. So something to think about as we go forward with community choice energy. And thank you for finally getting this done.
Thank you.
Yusef Miller?
Good evening, Mayor, City Council, and staff. I'll be sharing my time with my son. I wasn't able to sign him up, I was the last one and it cut off, so I'll start. My name is Yusef Miller. I'm with the North County chapter of the NAACP and Clean Earth for Kids. And we want to inspire and hopefully encourage you to join Community Choice Energy and Clean Energy Alliance. This is the wave of the future. This is where we're going. And we want to make sure that we're all on the same page. And we think that this is a great idea and we move forward on these great ideas. We want aggregated rooftop solar and the associated battery storage to go along with it. What is the problem that could possibly come up to this is we want to avoid the transmission and distribution of this energy, these jobs, and this technology. What is the cost of Oceanside? The cost is that we will have a high cost and a low reward if we take these clean jobs, these green jobs, these labor jobs and move them out, distribute them out. We want them to be local control, local power, and with that, I'll turn it over to my son.
Hello, my name is Naeem. I am on the youth board of CleanEarthForKids.org and with NAACP. Car exhaust is toxic. Please put no idling signs in the cities to help stop idling in all parked vehicles. You can use no idling signs with children's art to remind people to be mindful and turn off their engines when they are parked and be educated and educate the public on the dangers of exhaust because there are children with developing brains that can be damaged by the toxic chemicals by car exhaust. Car exhaust is full of toxic chemicals like benzene and carbon monoxide. When idling for 1 minute, it puts more carbon monoxide into the air than smoking 3 packs of cigarettes. Idling is a source of air pollution, and even short-term exposure to air pollution increase the risk of COVID and other health problems. We have more information on our website. There are no safe levels of secondhand smoke. There are almost 70 chemicals in secondhand smoke that can cause cancer. Then there is third-hand smoke, which is a chemical residue left on clothes, furniture, and other surface exposed to smoking. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. No other requests to speak?
No others.
Okay. Let's see. I don't think that there were any questions for staff. So let's go back to let's go to the council. Councilmember Rodriguez.
If I can have the SDG&E public liaison come up, and then city staff's representative under the utilities as well. Couple questions. SDG&E currently offers a 31% renewable as a standard part of the portfolio to all current customers. Is that correct?
It's approximately 40%.
About 40% now? Okay.
Yep.
Very good. And you actually offer an upgrade under your current umbrella to go up to 100%. Is that correct?
Yes.
And I see the cost differences are pretty significant for SDG&E to go from 40% renewable to 100%. In the first diagram, it's almost triple the cost. And so how is a CEA able to do it at almost the same cost as a private sector that has traditionally negotiated 20-plus year energy contracts with investors that take on risk?
I would have to defer that to either staff or Barbara from the CEA.
You're not allowed to answer that question?
Well, he can't.
It's a question that's more appropriate to them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
Got it.
Yeah, I believe this is a question that is more appropriate for the Chief Executive Officer of Clean Energy Alliance, as they are the organization that interacts directly with SDG&E.
Good evening. I'm going to apologize. I do have a cold. No problem. I don't have COVID. I did test.
Thank you
I can't,
for testing.
I can't speak to SDG&E's specific costs, but what I can say is over the past 20 years, the price of renewable energy to procure has gone down. So SDG&E would have procured energy at a cost that would have been higher than what we can procure today, and which SDG&E can procure today. But they're locked into contracts they entered into that would have been at a higher cost.
Yeah, that doesn't make sense logically in my mind. Let me ask you this way. When you say 100% renewable, where is that energy coming from when the wind's not blowing and the sun is not shining?
So when we say we're 100% renewable, we procure at the amount of energy equivalent to the use of the customer. It's not hour by hour. It's a cumulative procurement of number of kilowatt hours that are then put onto the grid.
Are renewable energy certificates a part of your portfolio program in offsetting, on paper to justify the 100% renewable?
So renewable energy certificates are the tracking mechanism to track each kilowatt hour of energy produced. And renewable energy has 3 different classifications, and I think you're referring to what's considered Category 3 or the unbundled RECs, where all you're buying is a certificate and you're not buying the energy. We buy the energy along with the certificate, so we're actually getting the benefit of that electricity, not the unbundled, which is what some consider not really buying clean energy.
Okay, from my understanding, renewable energy certificate is an energy provider. They purchase these certificates for me, for example, reverse, when I create solar on my roof during the day at the peak hours, I'm producing extra that you buy back from me. And because you're buying it back from me, The way the paper trail works out is you can create an energy from that can credit during peak hours when the sun isn't up and the wind isn't blowing to justify that it's actually renewable when in fact it's not. And so that's what I'm wanting to explain to the public, and I'm wanting you to elaborate and explain that when you say 100% renewable, it's shuffling of papers, it's greenwashing, and it's not 100% renewable. It's a definition that says renewable, but behind the scenes and the underlying assumptions, there's actually paper shuffling and smoke and mirrors happening. And I'm wanting to have you elaborate on that and explain that to the public.
So we actually do buy the energy being produced by the wind or the solar facility. We are not buying just the certificate, which is also a negotiable item that people do sell, but we're not buying just the certificate. We actually buy the energy being produced by the facilities. And the way that we demonstrate it is through this certificate. But we're actually buying the energy. But there is a market that you're referring to where if a provider doesn't have a buyer for his electricity, he still has the certificate and he can sell it. It's a much lower cost because the person's not buying the energy underlying, but we don't transact in that market. We're actually buying the energy.
Got it. Just to reiterate to the public and to the dais, SDG&E is up to 40% renewable. If you guys look at the top diagram on costs, and if you want to go to 100% renewable under SDG&E, the private sector that's been doing this for decades, it costs 3 times more for the private sector to secure, but yet we fall under the umbrella of a CEA, all of a sudden it's cheaper. Is there new infrastructure? No, they're all buying it from the same pot. It's just one entity is buying instead of the other. That concerns me. In what ways does future infrastructure projects, which are necessary, if we don't enhance infrastructure in the future toward more renewable energy storage, how is that going to affect rates?
Are you referring to the infrastructure that's delivering the energy, or are you referring to the generating facilities?
Is there any anticipated new infrastructure locally to help create more renewable energy underneath this joint powers agreement?
So within Clean Energy Alliance's Joint Powers Authority, we do have a preference for local generated energy. And to the extent that it's available, we will procure that. Our recent solicitations, we didn't have developers that had projects in the works that we could buy from. We do have on our plans for programs to do what's called community solar projects, which are smaller projects that are renewable energy products that are for certain communities, and feed-in tariffs for those landowners or businesses who have a larger piece of land that can build a larger renewable energy that produces greater energy than they can use, then we can buy that excess. But to the extent that it's available to us within our region, we do have a preference for that.
Okay. All right. If staff can come up, I have some additional questions for Oceanside City staff.
Yeah, 2 minutes.
How will, how many?
2.
Quickly, how will solar owners be affected by this agreement, this new joint powers agreement?
We understand that Clean Energy Alliance also does have a net energy metering credit. I believe it's 6 cents per kilowatt hour. Yeah, 6 cents per kilowatt hour. So the transition is relatively seamless for existing net energy metering customers.
And if it doesn't work out, how do we back out?
So the way that the enrollment occurs is a 60-day notice, right? Are you asking about the city opting out or customers?
The city come backing out, saying, look, this isn't looking good, we're out of here, we're going back. We want to go back to just SDG&E.
I believe that would be an amendment to the Joint Powers Agreement, correct?
SDG&E would not be in the business anymore.
It's a 1-year notice. You have to give 1 year notice under the Joint Exercise of Powers Agreement.
Yeah, so there is a provision within the JPA that addresses if a city were to decide to leave the JPA. It does require a 1-year notice. It also states that if there is costs as a result of contracts now that have been entered into, that we liquidate and we can't recover all the costs, the city would be responsible for that to the extent that there are losses.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Weiss?
I just want to clarify for the public that, one, this is not happening tomorrow.
Right.
And two, much like Councilmember Rodriguez has identified, if you prefer staying with SDG&E, there is an opt-out provision within the Community Alliance that you can opt out. And I went to your website, and it seemed like it was a pretty easy process to opt out. I mean, obviously, we're not in it, but I was playing with it. So I just want to make sure people know that if they want to stay with SDG&E, they have the ability to do so.
Thank you. And I would like to say I am actually very, very excited about the city of Oceanside entering into the JPA. This was a unanimous vote at the last hearing. There was a proviso that we enter once the other North County cities have had in fact decided to do so, and they in fact have. We share a lot with the 78 corridor. We even hear that San Clemente city of San Clemente may actually be also interested, and we have been presented with really positive information. This certainly would assist our city in achieving the climate action plan requirements that we have from the state. So I'm very excited. I did have a question for the city attorney. Can I use today orally to notice, to give the notice of intent for appointment to the next meeting?
I think it's pursuant to the Brown Act. This has been agendized for appointments to this board.
Okay, so to happen today?
Yes.
Okay, all right. So I would move that we adopt the resolution and introduce the ordinance. Again, I'm very, very excited. I believe our citizens are very, very excited. As to the appointments, I have been following this. In fact, I was one of the original folks who attended the meeting in Encinitas in, I believe it's 2017. I've been very active on this, and I do hope that I can be, and I'm putting my name forward as the for the appointment to this board. I believe it meets the fourth Thursdays of the month. Is that correct? The last or the fourth?
Last.
The last, okay. And I would recommend Deputy Mayor Keim as the alternate. Councilmember Jensen.
Bifurcate the motion.
Yes, I would like to reiterate with SDG&E that this is, your grid is what all of this is happening on, correct? So the infrastructure is all the SDG&E infrastructure.
That's correct.
Yes. And you would be working along with them jointly if we go forward with this, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. That's all I
Yeah,
wanted
so
to
to clarify, the billing services still remain with SDG&E. The average customer will still get a SDG&E bill that looks like they already have been getting previous to Clean Energy Alliance purchasing the generation contracts that go to our customers.
Okay. And there will be a little savings, right?
Currently, under the projections that were provided by CEA, we are looking at, for the base power product compared to the average residential customer under SDG&E, we're looking at about a 2.8% per month rate savings. And again, that's using today's assumptions, today's power generation costs, as well as today's the exit fee rate, the power charge and difference adjustment.
Excellent. Because a lot of things are going up. It's nice to know something will go down. Thank you.
Deputy Mayor Keim.
Just a couple quick questions, and whoever can answer them, if it's appropriate, would be great. I mean, as a state, as California moves towards joining these or creating these CCAs, so say the entire state moves away from procurement at private utilities like SDG&E, and everyone wants to feel good and have 100% renewable. Is there enough renewable power to supply that demand? And then what's going to happen to prices when everyone in the state wants 100% renewable?
I think that's best for Barbara to answer that question.
And I know
as the
this is
procurer.
partly speculation, but I just want people, when we do this, I want people to understand the challenges that are going to come in the next 10, 20, 30 years. We don't have the renewable resources right now to provide 100% renewable for everyone. So some communities will pay for 100% renewable, and then other communities who don't have the means will not. And I don't know if it's actually going to impact GHG as much as everyone would like until we actually have that infrastructure and more renewable energy. But whoever would like.
Yeah, so as the 100% renewable option is only one of the power products that Clean Energy Alliance provides. And again, the council's not required to take that decision now.
No, I guess that's not the point of my question. It's as we use, as the entire state goes towards more renewable and we purchase all the renewable, I mean, is it likely that prices for renewable energy is going to go up?
We'll let Barbara answer that question because they procure the actual power contract.
Deputy Mayor, so your question speaks to, I think, a challenge that the state has before it. The state does have, just on its own, a very aggressive green energy goals, as do now the CCAs. I can tell you that our most recent solicitation, where we went out and requested offers for renewable energy, we had over 84 responses. So there still is more than sufficient supply. One of the challenges that we have is, as Councilmember Rodriguez mentioned, the wind energy only produces energy when the wind is blowing. Solar only produces solar when the sun is shining. So we have to figure out ways to collect that energy to then produce when we don't have those supplies. So we do have not only mandates from the PUC, but independent goals for battery storage. Those prices are actually coming down. But I will caveat that with supply chain issues, there's been significant delays in those coming online.
And also, and that brings up another point. So when someone on a 100% renewable plan is charging their Chevy Bolt at midnight before they go to work the next morning, where are those electrons coming from? Are they coming from solar or?
So it's a balancing. It's the renewable energy isn't being produced and sent to your home at the time you're using it. We're looking at what's your usage for the month, and purchasing an equivalent amount from that generator and putting it on the grid.
So from what I've come to understand is sometimes 100% renewables can be more of an accounting term,
Right.
correct?
Yeah.
So and that's a challenge, and this is not a criticism of renewable energy. It's just the current state we're at, and that if we close Diablo Canyon like was close, that's what 9% of our state's. You could call it renewable energy right now. So in 2026, we could see whether it's CCA or whether that's SDG&E, we're not going to have savings with this. The reason I'm going to vote to approve it tonight is we directed staff, and I think this, if we have to join a CCA, I think CEA is better than SDCP, which we're joining more of a SANDAG model with a weighted system. That's why having the corridor cities and with demographics closer to ours are better. But I have serious concerns. I've heard from the beginning, from years ago, that we're going to have 3-4% savings, and now it's down to 2, now it's down to 1, now it's down to, you only pay a little bit more for cleaner energy. And I mean, those are concerns with me. But again, I'm going to support this tonight, and I look forward to working, making sure that we can provide good, clean energy at a good price to our residents.
Do you have a second?
I would second the motion on the action item, but I would like to bifurcate the vote between the joining and then the representatives.
That was a second to the motion, so I don't know if I can third a second, but.
So I guess,
if
Mayor, would
there's
you
no
like
second to the first, then I will second. If that's an alternate motion, then I'll second the bifurcated motion just for the adopting the resolution.
Okay, there's a motion and a second to first vote on the on adopting the resolution introducing the ordinance with respect to entering the JPA, and then we will then vote on the appointments. Please vote.
Mayor, I need to title the ordinance, sorry.
Yes, please
This
title
is
the
the introduction of an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Oceanside establishing community choice aggregation in the City of Oceanside. You have the resolution as part of the motion as well.
Please vote.
Motion approved, 4-1. Rodriguez, no.
Okay, the second part is for the appointment of our representative as well as the alternate, Councilmember Weiss.
I would recommend Deputy Mayor Kine be the primary and Councilmember Jensen be the alternate.
Second.
Okay, there's a motion and second. Please vote.
Motion approved, 4-1. Sanchez, no.
Thank you. Okay, next is public comments. Do we have, how many comments do we have on items not on the agenda? Okay, let's go.
Our first public comment is from Stephen Sidlowski, to be followed by Linda Walshaw, to be followed by Diane Hansen.
Thank you. And as he comes forward, I understand that Neil Scholander is not present, indicated that he was not going to be coming, and that is under item number 31. So
Madam Mayor Sanchez, council members of Oceanside, and wonderful citizens, I'm lay brother Stephen Gerard Sidlowski. I'm delighted to be back speaking for my second time on a new possible personhood resolution, if you, of course, would agendize that. We are in the window from Mother's Day to Father's Day, so it would be a good time to explore it with just a simple education series. So wonderful council members, if you could share your thoughts after you review the personhood resolution and give your input to the Madam Mayor on your approval for it being agendized, I would welcome that possibility. Since I've been away, I'm delighted to let all of you know that I was able to revisit the La Mesa Flag Day Parade. I only bring that up because I'm a veteran. And I fought for all of your wonderful safety here in the United States, in the U.S. Navy, both as enlisted and as an officer. And when I look to my flag, I look at the safety of everybody. That actually includes the child peacefully also developing in the mother's womb. And in La Mesa, I taught everyone as I handed out the Bible bookmarks, which are in front of you, I encouraged everyone to look to your flag with pro-life eyes. Think about that. My loving mother, Arlene, my loving father, who still lives today, Lawrence, gave me the gift of life. What a beautiful, treasurable gift that is for each and every one of us. Your mothers and fathers gave you the gift of life because here you are. You're defending, you're developing the wonderful Oceanside. I love the Franciscan missions, of course, because I'm a third order Franciscan now. I've given you a little bit of a gift. It talks about the second founding father. I have to learn about it myself. Enjoy that gift. Furman Francisco de Losen. I apologize if I'm not saying the name right. And that will remind you that you're a beautiful mission city, Oceanside. Hooray to Oceanside for being a mission city. I hope that you'll ponder the personhood resolution. I'd like to have the time to read it out fully to you, but I will display it for all to see. Maybe if it's sideways. And look at the actual verbiage on the personhood resolution. I can tell you I travel the country. This language comes from many cities throughout the country, and you all are the recipients of a lot of research. Please take it to heart. God bless you all. Jesus loves you. I hope you'll put me on that agenda. I don't know how that works.
Thank you very much. Ms. Walshaw?
Good evening again. As you all probably remember, I am the CEO of Mobile Home Advisory Committee, but I used to be the vice chair of the Housing Commission, and I was also on the Homeless Ad Hoc Committee. And one of the things addressed here tonight was the homeless issue. And I just want to remind everybody that the mobile home parks, there are 17 of them, and there's somewhere around 6,500 people that live in them. Most of them are lower income. Most of them depend on this housing as affordable housing. However, except for Laguna Vista, it cannot be counted as affordable housing because it's not means tested. And Laguna Vista is facing a hearing before the Manufactured Home Fair Practices Commission. Their park owners are requesting a rent increase of 26.67%. And everybody can imagine how that would affect these people if that happens. Laguna Vista's regulatory agreement requires that they keep 150 spaces for low-income buyers at all times. So how is that going to work? I mean, the city already has that agreement in place with this park. So that's one thing. The other thing is that our organization is a nonprofit, and we're working with a larger nonprofit serving seniors out of San Diego. And they have helped, they're trying to help us get an accurate count on the mobile home communities, on the number of rent control spaces available, not just here, but throughout the county, so that we have a better idea of what we're facing in the future. According to Sandag, after the census count this year, they expect the population increase for this area to be 97% over the age of 55. And there is no plan for where all these seniors are going to be living. There is no senior housing being planned or built as far as I'm aware. So we need to think about that. It's really important. We already have the baby boomers being displaced. They are the largest newly homeless population that we have in San Diego County. And we're very fortunate right now to have UCSD student volunteers that are helping us with this research work. It's really important that we get a handle on this and figure out where our seniors, our veterans, our disabled, and everybody else is going to live in the future. If we lose even one of these parks, you're looking at several hundred more people being displaced and living in the street. We already have homeless nurses, homeless teachers. This is unacceptable. If we don't have affordable housing, you're going to have more homeless. It's just that simple. So let's try to figure out some proactive way to plan ahead instead of dealing with it after they're homeless.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Diane Hansen.
Mayor and City Council members, I'm Diane Hansen, President of OMHA. Our mission is to unite, educate, and inform the homeowners living in the 17 manufactured home parks in Oceanside. I'm here on their behalf to discuss this second HCD, Health and Safety Inspection, to be overseen by Oceanside Code Enforcement. It is my understanding that only 1 or 2 parks will be inspected each year. The major change is that in addition to the common areas, this inspection includes the exterior of each manufactured home and yard. This second HCD inspection puts added responsibilities on HCD, the City of Oceanside, causes a hardship to the owners. In the meantime, no additional responsibilities have been given to the park owner. The 2022 inspection revealed that park operators are not maintaining the common areas because 7 of the 17 parks failed the inspection. Until recently, the park operator was responsible for inspecting the exterior of homeowners' homes and yards. However, these new corporate owners and their operators are not doing this. They're too busy buying homes in the park, remodeling them, and renting them at market value. In Rancho San Luis Rey and Mission View West, Star Management has not inspected the exterior of homes and yards since the properties were purchased in March of 2019. This is the responsibility of the park owner. This is property management. The big question is, how will this second inspection be funded? The Park Registration Fund is to administer 16B, the rent control ordinance. It is losing money annually because rental properties are not under rent control. Therefore, the park owner and the renters do not pay into that fund. So how much of the $150,000 for the new enforcement officer will be paid by the park registration fees? Last year's inspection cost $12,000. So how much will be added to that cost of inspection? I suggest that instead of this second HCD inspection, we improve the current annual inspection that Oceanside does, updating the inspection list and spend more time on inspections, have more detailed inspections, and enforce 16B. CPI increases cannot be passed on to the homeowner until all violations have been remedied. This has not been followed. Last year, Linda Washaw and Jimmy Knott, along with Angie Hannafin, updated the health and safety inspection criteria. That information should be passed on to the City Council and HCD for approval.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next speakers are Suzanne Hume, to be followed by Roger Davenport, to be followed by Eric Joyce.
Hi, and thank you so much. My name is Suzanne Hume. I'm the Educational Director and founder of Clean Earth for Kids, and I'm joined with Naeem, who spoke a little early. He was going to talk about renewable energy and battery storage and all that, but it's all good. And great job. Okay, so in public comment, I would like to talk about ideas for Oceanside for clean air. As you know, Oceanside, part of San Diego County, has an F in ozone and an F in particulate matter. Particulate matter or PM, is little bits of tiny toxic pollution that are inhaled in the nose and cross the blood-brain barrier. So last Thursday, Dr. Bruce Bakar, an OBGYN and well-known in the climate world, had spoke, and he speaks at many universities, spoke on our panel discussion at Clean Earth for Kids about his paper, which was published in JAMA, the Journal of American Medical Association, talking about air pollution connected with premature birth, stillbirth, low birth weight, learning disabilities, brain defects, and it goes on and on, cancer, etc. So we have the studies. And if you don't know Dr. Bruce Bakar, you should definitely look him up. We have information on Clean Earth for Kids, Team 3, Clean Air. So as you know, we get an F. San Diego County gets an F. And if you'll drive to the harbor tonight, I'd really appreciate it. You'll smell the wood smoke. As you know, we can do something about this right now. So burning 10 pounds of wood in 1 hour creates the same cancer-causing PAHs as 6,000 packs of cigarettes. So there's no reason for this particulate matter. So when you go to Oceanside and a person that with a disability, in a wheelchair, et cetera, you want to go down to Harbor Drive at the end of that, past the police station, it's flat. You'll see people there with walkers, wheelchairs, people with COPD, this and that. They can't go. They can't access public lands. When the beach fires are going, it blows all in on that sidewalk. So, and again, as Naeem said, we definitely need no smoking signs. We need no idling signs. People back into spaces and blow all that stuff around. So there are things that we can do here in Oceanside and need to do, and also getting the lead out of our aviation fuel at Oceanside Airport. There is no safe level of lead. Lead is it causes permanent disability of children's brains. We did this in San Diego. We can do this in Oceanside. We have to step forward and take simple actions that cost barely anything to protect our air. And again, pesticides drift. I was poisoned by pesticides. Let's keep on working together to make a better Oceanside. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Davenport?
Hi, it's me again. I was hoping that Christopher Rodriguez would stay in the room because I was troubled by item 35 that was put on the agenda by him and our Corey Jensen. this has happened before, where we get something put on the agenda that has no information associated with it, so we don't really know what we are listening to or going to hear. And so I'd like to suggest that maybe when people put things on the agenda, that they at least have a paragraph of description of what the thing is about. Looked to me like that was going to be a request to change what was just approved in item 27. Anyway, this also worries me and troubles me because it seems to be sort of a pattern of management by ambush and disruption. For instance, when we saw the startup of the El Corazon pool being delayed and disrupted by a lot of thrashing about introduced by the idea of closing the Brook Street pool, I think we need to have a lot more care in the motions that are put before the city so that we don't do that. It's better to have information out there so that we know what you're going to be doing. And I was going to tell Christopher that the reason that solar is cheaper is that solar is cheaper. I just redid our solar system last January. It cost approximately 10 times less than when I did it 12 years ago. Solar has come down by factors, orders of magnitude over just the past 20 or 30 years. And solar from my system on my roof, I calculate the output of that system is going to cost about 3 cents a kilowatt hour. Now compare that to the rates that you're getting from SDG&E, and you'll see that solar is really cheap. And that was paying retail prices. So when they talk about CEA, once we get past the first few years and we start having money coming into the city, we could put solar panels on our airport, put them in using commercial rates and high efficiency installation, and I would bet that we would get electricity from that would be less than 5 cents a kilowatt hour. And so you can actually get savings because solar is continuing to go down. Oil is not going to go down. Gas is not going to go down. Solar has and will continue to go down. So just wanted to make those points. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Eric Joyce.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Honorable Mayor, Council. I'm Eric Joyce, District 1. First of all, thank you for finally joining Community Choice Energy. We can begin making progress on our climate action plan. That's a great start. That's a great news to start off the night. The conversation earlier reminded me of something else that I heard at a previous meeting a couple months ago. Many Oceanside families are currently in a housing crisis. I heard a lot of frustration about the challenge of addressing homelessness, and it is a challenge. The point in time count is just that. It's a point in time count of that one point in time, and it's just an estimate of what we have. Everyone that volunteered at that event knows that. I also heard frustration over the HOT team and not being able to make progress, and about not having good numbers. But the truth is we do have numbers. Our own housing commission, in fact, said that 14% of Oceanside households are extremely low income. 65% of those 9,000 households are identified at risk of homelessness right now. Your next meeting, you have the American Rescue Plan Act, and the funds are coming before you. I would ask you, I'd urge you to consider the Oceanside households that are on the verge of homelessness right now. They are the families and the seniors that need your help. They need your support to prevent the problem from getting worse. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
There are no more speakers on off-agenda items.
Thank you. I'm going to move to item number 34. I see Karen. Karen Williams-Graham has been here, and she's on the Arts Commission, so I don't know if this is the item that you've been waiting for. But this is my motion to appoint for appointments, and you have it before you. I would like to make one change. That is that for the Arts Commission to where it says appoint Julia Pfister to regular It would be replacing, actually, Amy Callowet, who is leaving. So that would be the one change. So that's my motion. Is there a second?
Madam Mayor, we do have two speakers on this item.
Oh, okay. Of course. Ms. Graham?
Linda
Williams?
Walshaw and Kellen Sue.
Oh, okay.
Linda Walshaw, you're first. To be followed by Kellen Sue.
I'm back, sorry. The only thing I have about this is I got so many calls in the last few days about this item, not because there was anything in the way it was written, but just because it didn't list who was being removed and who was being added. And a lot of people in the mobile home communities thought there were maybe changes were happening to the Housing Commission or changes were happening to the Manufactured Home Commission in advance of these pending issues that they have before these bodies. And there was a lot of upset people. And I'm just wondering if maybe in the future, if when we list something like this, if we could just list the names of what the proposals are so that it helps us to not have to call you guys, to not bother staff about it, to not have to come down here over when, they think it could be something, so everybody has to show up. So that's all I have. Just if we could maybe be a little more specific, it would create a lot less drama.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Hsu?
Good evening. My name is Kellen Sue, and I'm the chair of the Parks and Rec Commission. Good evening, Mayor and City Council. I wanted to share about two of my fellow commissioners, both who have served for several years and were giving their time to serve their community. Both commissioners listened to all who came before them, wanted to improve our parks for the better, and never exhibited any bias. One commissioner chose to step down because of how adversarial the Parks and Rec Commission has become, and over concerns of attacks on staff's character and jobs. Another commissioner's term is about to expire and has not been reappointed, despite serving for 8 years faithfully. I encourage several individuals that I encountered at parks and at workshops to apply to join the commission. Fellow moms that I would see pushing swings, I'm like, if you want to have that at the park, you should join the Parks and Rec Commission. Or at the Buccaneer workshop, I said, oh, it's so amazing that you're here. You should join the Parks and Rec so we can have more voices on the commission. These are members of the communities that use the parks, are engaged with local government, and want more for our parks. It appears that none of these residents have been appointed or on the list that I saw tonight. I ask that the council involve themselves in these appointments to the commission to be sure that the community is accurately represented. Thank you.
And Madam Mayor, Ms. Williams-Graham would like to speak.
Yes.
Council and Mayor, I just want to say that I support the Arts Commission. As you know, I've been a standing member for several years. And what we've done in the past few years is implement inclusion for everyone to know and get involved with our culture here in Oceanside. And I appreciate your support. Now, if there's any problem with anybody being on the commission, you just have to show gratitude, be forward in what you want to do for the city. And you can be on the commission, but you have to be able to follow everybody and give your opinion in the appropriate manner. So I appreciate you appointing me again. I'm called the senior citizen of the group. But I do appreciate the time that I've been on there, because the commission has changed. I made it a point to include every culture in every event that we've had in Oceanside in the past few years. And I will continue to do that, because this is all one melting pot of everybody, and everybody should be included in every cultural event in this beautiful city. Thank you.
Thank you.
More speakers on this item.
Okay. Thank you. I do have a motion. Is there a second?
I have my light on.
Councilmember Weiss.
Thank you. We recently received a resignation letter from a longstanding commissioner, and that resignation letter reads in part, I applied to serve on the commission because of the stated purpose to advise the city council on policy matters pertaining to safety, police, fire, and other areas of concern for public safety. However, while serving during the past 9 months, I witnessed the degradation of the commission by the loss of experienced individuals being replaced by appointment of special interest individuals with narrow agendas. As anticipated, these individuals continually stand in opposition to the commission. Clearly, this will not prove beneficial to the city of Oceanside and will only serve to diminish the spirit of cooperation, trust, and transparency. I hope this practice will be discontinued so as to allow experienced alternates to serve in the capacity that the position was created for. In a separate incident, during the most recent Parks and Recreation Commission meeting, the mayor from the audience interrupted the meeting on several occasions and later accused the chair of the commission of making racist comments. The actions by the mayor were, in my opinion, inappropriate, uncalled for, and unbalanced. And we have an EAP program, you should think about it. As part of this item, as was mentioned by one of the speakers, the mayor is removing people from commissions without clearly identifying those being removed as part of the memo. To me, that's a complete lack of transparency. These are not the leadership qualities we expect of our elected officials, and certainly not from the mayor. I will therefore not be supporting any of the nominations to any of the commissions.
So I see no second, so I'll be pulling my list.
I had my, okay, never mind.
The general council member comments.
We still have, I think, 33
Oh, sorry.
to bang. I'll be really quick.
My apologies.
Late.
Item number 33, which is request by council members Rodriguez and Jensen to discuss a prioritized plan and timeline for a new Oceanside Police Department facility and direction to staff.
So just really quick, in getting to know the Oceanside Police Department and its history and the temporary facility that they have clearly outgrown, we definitely need a plan, and all my motive is tonight is not to give clear, precise direction, but just to get on the same page with my colleagues that our police department needs a better facility, they need a better location, they need some consolidation, and in discussing this, item 19 actually references, Mr. Brego brought this to my attention, a site that we actually own on item 19, 1280 Rancho del Oro. It's a little over 5 acres. And in discussing with the city engineer timeframes on, obviously we need to identify funding, but timeframes on, finishing up the analysis we're doing by year's end, and then the design, construction. We're looking at maybe a 3.5 to 4 year time frame, maybe as long as 5 years. And so I would just like to get on the same page with my fellow council members to say, hey, staff, this is a priority of ours. We just did this with a $40 million pool. I think we can do this for our police officers who work hard for us every day and give them an actual time frame and some funding options, and we can discuss this in the future. So I don't know if we need a motion, but I would really like something moving forward that has some concrete estimated dates, funding sources. We have some opportunities for development of their existing location. We need to make this happen for our police department. I mean, I don't know if you have anything else to add to that, Councilmember Jensen.
Yes, I just wanted to echo the need for a timeline, and it appears we have identified a location or a potential location, and that was my primary concern, was finding a suitable location for the new police station. So I think we're on the right track with that, and a timeline would be very helpful so that we can take the next steps moving forward.
I don't think we do. So I appreciate that, Councilmember Rodriguez, that you brought this forward, because this is actually has been an ongoing process. And so for the public to hear, yes, it has been an ongoing process. There was a first phase of the study that has been shared with the council, and perhaps on a future date, staff can bring forward that information so that the public is aware. Phase 2 was to begin, is beginning, and that has to do with finding the site. And yes, staff has identified a potential site. I think that was going to be going into the Phase 2. I believe it was with a plural, but this seems to be the best site at this time. But yes, I think funding, and also it could also be Measure X that will be on the ballot again, will be placed on the ballot in 2024. That may be very much well tied into this and how that factors in. So I'm not sure if we need a motion, but that this is something that has been ongoing. Yes.
I think you guys see that this is a priority for our police department, and I'm looking forward to seeing some memos and further council items or staff items on this. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Jensen, did you want to speak? No. Thank you. All right. Any comments by council members? Deputy Mayor Kime.
So I wanted to speak during the commission's appointment, but I don't think I pressed my light hard enough. So the last several months, I've also received the same emails. They've come to council, and I have a tremendous amount of respect for our committees and commissions. Almost 18 years ago, I was on the Police and Fire Commission. Mayor Wood appointed me. These are people that give time away from their families, come down, work hard, care about the city, want to do good work for the city for free. There's a lot of passion, and for the way they've been treated, I don't think it's appropriate. I am not going to support committee or commission appointments going forward until we fix the process or we go about it in a different way. I mean, we have had alternates that have been on commissions for a lengthy amount of time. When it comes to moving into a permanent role, they're not told why they're not going to, they're not contacted at all. And from what I'm told, they feel very devalued. And I think we can do better, and we owe them better. Going forward, again, until we fix this process or we have a more collaborative process with the council, or we can actually make sure that the commission members on there feel valued and are given a reason why they're not moved to an alternate, or, I mean, we can do better. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments by council members? All right. I do want to address this briefly. The boards and commissions. Boards and commissions, some people have served for 20 years. We end up having very stale members on boards and commissions. I don't actually understand. There's one person that apparently feels that a certain member should not be removed. These are definite terms. Even the council has term limits. We need to have better representation on our boards and commissions. Some of these commissions have almost all just male, white men, and that's it. We are a very diversified community. Our community deserves to be represented at each of these boards and commissions. That has been my goal, and I think that our members on the boards and commissions serve very well. They're volunteering their time. They do not get paid. But we also need to look to the present and the future in terms of ensuring that that whatever comments they make, and these are just recommendations to the council, all right? There's only one board commission that is required under law, and that is that we have a housing commission based on state laws having to do with discriminatory treatment and also affordable housing. So there's one. The rest of the commissions are there to help the council make their decisions, hopefully to air out issues that are out in the community, and that is what happens at most of these commissions. However, some members of the community have approached me over time saying, I have been applying or I can't even get through to apply on a board and commission. And so my goal has been to diversify our boards and commissions. We do not have that at this time. As I said, some of them are so devoid of diversity that not even the things that are addressed and concerns that are addressed are actually even understood by the boards and commissions. So I appreciate the comments. There is definitely a difference in treatment and the perception that certain communities are being treated differently. And so it is our job, and I certainly feel that it includes me, to make sure that that doesn't happen. And so that was that is why what I hoped to do is be able to have, I mean, this commission needs diversity. These folks that I had put forward are folks from the community. Anthony Flores works for NCTD. He is absolutely involved with our parks and parks and recreation. He has kids. He uses the fields. He does all of these things. And to say, hopefully it's not because of his last name, that he doesn't deserve to be on the commission is, you know, I'm just worried about those kind of comments. So bottom line is, you know, I think we all need to get on the same page.
I agree.
But I think that we need to make sure that that page includes diversifying our boards and
I
commissions.
think 22 years is stale. So
Now we're on adjournment. And I want to first of all wish everyone happy Pride Month for the month of June, and also to invite everyone to go to Pride by the Beach this Saturday, 12 to 6. Also, the following Saturday will be Juneteenth. NAACP will be sponsoring that here also at the Civic Center. It's a very, very wonderful program. It's from 10 and I think till 6. And then also I want to wish happy Father's Day to all fathers, grandfathers, uncles, everyone. Thank you very much. I'm going to go ahead and join this meeting to Wednesday, June 22nd, 3:30. Meeting adjourned. Thank you.